intro voice ready.
Alright, welcome to Voile, the Magic Podcast, Hisouten podcast number 26, where we're talking about Patchouli Knowledge. I am joined today by my co-host Elos and our two guests, Zerofuse and Huz. Elos, do you want to introduce yourself?
Me? I'm I'm a bit of a regular host here. I forget which podcasts I was on, but I started on the Alice podcast. I'm trying to get out of beginner level, sort of, and I've been around here for about 8 or 9 months. Sometimes running tournaments, sometimes helping out, sometimes doing this podcast. But I'm not terribly important. Let's give it to the man, Zerofuse. How you been, my dude?
Hey, what's up? I'm Zerofuse. You might know me as the Patchy main of Hisoutensoku server. There's a couple other Patchy mains within the server. Like, should be told, I'm not the only one. Let's be honest here. There's a whole lot more Patchoulis than just me, but hopefully I can join you guys today and talk about Patchouli and about why nobody plays this character. And
Alright, Huz. What's your background?
I also play Patchouli, of course, and well, do you want my Soku history, the whole thing, or what?
Well, how long have you been playing?
Yeah, give us a little synopsis.
Well, back in what was it, 2012, I played for like a year, not that often, but in Soku lobby, and basically came back after that. About a year and a half ago or something. Or was it just a year? I don't know. To this server.
Oh, that's interesting. So you must have improved quite a bit, or you just didn't get that rusty from playing a while ago.
Yeah, I've improved a lot since I came back.
Alright, well,
definitely.
Looks like we've got some qualified players here to talk about Patchy. But usually we start this off by talking about the lore. Now, Elos is our designated lore master.
Oh, I don't know about master, but I like to try and give out a little fun tidbits of information. But Patchouli Knowledge, she's a witch resident of the Scarlet Devil Mansion. She lives in the library, the great library of the Scarlet Devil Mansion. She is a magician, first and foremost. She uses the 5 primary elements, commonly called Wu Xing, which consists of fire, water, wood, metal, and earth, and she can additionally manipulate the elements of sun and moon.
see, those are the ones I didn't understand. Like, where did the sun and moon elements come into play with the Wu Xing?
I'm not actually sure.
Does it have to do with like Sunday and Saturday?
It does have to do with the days of the week. One is one element for each day of the week, starting with Monday.
So Moon Day.
Well, I kind of agree with that. Monday is always the start of the week. That's the start of the work week.
Right.
It's the start of the working.
It follows the Japanese weekday ordering fire, water, wood, metal, earth, instead of the actual Wu Xing wood, fire, earth, metal, water. And it starts on Tuesday with fire.
Huh, interesting.
But she likes to combine these elements frequently for different effects, and they all have their own inherent bolstering abilities. They all have their properties. She possesses a lot of books that sometimes act independently. They can shoot as Danmaku. This appeared in the first game she debuted in, which was Embodiment of Scarlet Devil, of course. A couple other games she's been in. She was in one of Sakura's ending, Perfect Cherry Blossom. She frequently appears in most of the games with Scarlet Devil residents as playable characters, such as Imperishable Night, Phantasmagoria Flowerview, Subterranean Animism. She's one of the partners in that game. And several others, including the spin-offs like Shoot the Bullet, IAMP, Hisoutensoku.
Yeah, I find that Patchouli actually shows up in a lot of the canon games. Like, not so much as a playable character, but she shows up in the story-wise.
She's in the background a lot. I think this is reflected by her nature as not so much of a shut-in, but kind of an introvert. She really likes knowledge. She likes reading, so she doesn't get outside that library very much.
Wasn't her entire story arc in Scarlet Weather Rhapsody that she was such a shut-in, and it spent like the better half of her story just getting her to move out of the library for a bit?
Yeah, sort of. She's very interested in knowledge, and so she went out to seek the cause of the weather disaster.
Ah, I get it. Patchouli Knowledge.
Patchouli Knowledge. What a clever name, truly. She's been in most of the literature, the canon as well, like Bohemian Archive. In Silent Sinner and Blue, she was the main researcher and designer of the rocket that Remilia, Reimu, Marisa, and Sakuya went to the moon in, so she's somewhat of an engineer as well.
That's like otherworldly knowledge, though.
Yeah, I think she described magic and technology as one and the same. I could be wrong, though. So if she understands magic, she can kind of have a grasp on how otherworld technology works. So that's kind of my rundown for the character.
And concerning what you said about her, like, interchanging her elements with how she fights, you can see that a lot in Hisoutensoku, actually.
Oh, absolutely.
All of her spells, they're combinations of different elements. Like, the Deluge is, like, water and earth, the Harvester is, like, metal and wood. Though I don't know how the wood comes into play there, because it just looks like pure metal. And then the sun sign is for Royal Flare. And then the moon...
Well, it's an elemental harvester, and it's like... So there's actually a bit of I think there's an interesting reason behind that. So what exactly are you harvesting with those saw blades? You're usually harvesting wood, right?
I suppose.
I did think it was kind of interesting that she had a wood sign and an earth sign, and they're both kind of plant life.
Yeah, actually that doesn't make too much sense, because Autumn Blade, which is the go-to Alt 214 in the air, is just metal element magic, whereas the elemental harvester is metal and wood.
There's definitely a lot of interesting combinations she likes to do with her magic.
So,
she's experimenting.
Yeah, while she experiments and has like a lot of experience with the magic in general, I think it might be fun for you guys to know that she can't always use all these magics. Like, she suffers from anemia, and she's also like sickly to some extent. I think she's asthmatic.
Yeah, she can't even breathe right.
Yeah, that is true.
That's why nobody plays it.
The strength of her magic depends on like how well she's feeling.
Yeah, she might be some sick asthmatic neat, but at her best, she can cast more magic than you'll ever wish to. So that's Patchouli. Alright, so shall we get into the gameplay?
Yeah, starting with that, how is this magician supposed to be played in Soku? How does this all apply?
Okay, so before we get into how she's supposed to play, I think it might be important to mention her buttons. So, Patchouli isn't like your typical fighter. She doesn't really have good melee to really just abuse in the midst of neutral and try to like get in on people. Like a lot of characters you might see in Hisoutensoku, they have this playstyle about them where they fly around and they're just trying to outmaneuver you to find an instance for where they can use J5A, and from there that's their neutral win. Now, the hitbox on Patchouli's J5A is really not that good, so she doesn't have that option. It hits like diagonally down below her, and it's not something you can just jump in and use. And if you use it on like the beginning of your high jump or your jump, and if you whiff it, the recovery is terrible. So let this be clear, this is not an attack you open up with. Rather, it's an attack you use to follow up with some of Patchouli's other skills. Now, Patchouli's J6A, this is more of a wall technique. I wouldn't say that this is something you should use trying to advance the opponent because you lock yourself in place. It extends a hitbox and her hurt box as well, unfortunately. And what you use it to is to just stop enemy movement. The thing about it though is that there's like a dead space between Patchouli and the J6A that you're gonna want to like use it preemptively, and this is how you capitalize on that extended hurt box ability. Now that's my J5A and J6A explanation. Do you have anything to say about the buttons, Huz?
That sounds about right for those. I'd say that J8A is like really good actually, but you have to be below them pretty well to actually hit with it because it hits really high above you. But it's actually really fast and big, so it's actually a really good melee, unlike most of our other ones.
I know, yeah, it hits 3 times, so you get the benefit of like a good block string off of it, and each one of those like parts of J5A could cancel into a bullet or the J6A in like a midair block string. Actually, fun fact, if you use this in Spring Haze, it just deletes the enemy's meter, or if they're trying to like graze it. It's gone.
This is J8A?
Yeah, all of Patchy
J5A.
stuff has insane active frames, so if you're in Spring Haze, our melees become little more powerful
Like
than they
Type
used to
3 bullets. Essentially.
Yeah, something like that.
So, about Patchouli's melee, you'll notice that her dial A is like... sorry, I feel it's really important to get the buttons out of the way. Her dial A isn't tight at all, just so you guys know. Like, if you find a Patchouli who's block stringing you on a right block 5A into another 5AA, that's not tight. It's DPable, it's... Nothing about that string is tight. You have the wrong block with Patchouli's melee.
Nothing
And
she has.
you know that anybody who finishes the last bit of the second 5A, they're going to go into the full dial. They always do.
That's not true.
No, it's not. It's not true.
It's a mix-up. That third, because from what I understand, Patchouli's pressure is all about the quick bullet crushes, right?
Yes, I'll get to that in just a moment.
Yeah. So you're gonna wanna usually beat E at the second hit, and that's what Patchouli's third hit is for, is to kind of put that fear into them. It's been stricken into me before.
Yeah,
I don't know, I think
the second hit of 5A is really used for conditioning a lot of times. But sorry. So about the other buttons, J2A is mostly used for bullet follow-ups or bullet setups. J8A is used for J8A hitbox is actually extremely large, by the way. Like it's one of the largest
really good.
J8As in the game.
If they're able to be hit with it, it's really good, but it hits really far above you, so you can't really use it unless you're below them.
Yeah. So, I guess I'll get into my theory on how Patchouli is supposed to be played. Like, in neutral, your goal is to have the opponent kind of graze into your stuff. They want to, like, run into your... You want them to run into your bullets in some way, shape, or form. And she has a lot of different tools to do this, with things like her Winter Element, her 4-2-1 setups, which is the Dew Spears. Actually, I've seen some funny interactions with people where you just throw out fireballs and see how they react to them. They try grazing into the fireballs, but it's actually a J2A setup. So if you throw out like a B version of the slower fireball and you do like a high jump 9 J2A, some people will run into that. It's just one of the smaller things I like. But typically you're not going to be rushing in as Patchouli. You want to use your bullets in such a way to where you can set up yourself to get in on the opponent. So at a distance, you want to use things like 6C, because that's extremely fast. Maybe D2 to force some movement. You got Dew Spears if you ever want to do some flashy setup, like you do like a 5C into Dew Spear. See how they react. If they're not doing anything, well then you reset back to neutral and just kind of see what they're going to do.
Sometimes I just start spamming Dew Spears if they're not doing much.
Yeah, and that's one of the ways Patchouli can play, because one of the things she wants to do in her neutral is just build meter. And such meter might include things like Satellite Sunflower or her Jellyfish Princess, because these are neutral tool winners. Now, a lot of people might argue that Satellite Sunflower is not very good in neutral, or a very good spell in general, because it does the same thing that Jellyfish Princess does, which is allows you to activate the spell, win neutral, and get in on your opponent to maybe apply some pressure or a guard crush. it's true. They do both serve the same purpose, and one's subjectively more effective than the other. Now, Jellyfish Princess, I think Huz might be able to talk to you a bit more about Jellyfish Princess, but I find that the shield it stops your opponent from pressing buttons.
I mean, yeah, they serve the same purpose. One erases their bullets, one gives you more bullets.
Some characters will just shoot like 2 bullets and it's gone. Sorry.
Give me 1 second. You'll have to take it from your Huz.
Yeah, so is there anything else you might want to add about how you think Patchouli is played? Maybe not in neutral, but in general, what her game-winning plan is?
Well, if you can get enemies to, run into bullets or setups or graze into your melee, that is ideal, but if they're more patient and play around it properly, then you're probably going to have to get a little bit more aggressive and try and crush them or something like that.
Aggressive with, like, melee interactions or just more bullets?
Well, if they're playing more defensively and not running into stuff and more focused on grazing, then you'll actually have a lot more leeway to just get in with like a junk 5A or something, actually. And
that makes sense.
if you can actually get into pressure,
Now, there's something.
Kill people. Do what?
There's something I had a question about for Satellite, Sunflower, and Jellyfish Princess. Well, it's more of an observation, but it seems to me like Jellyfish Princess feels more like a Dragon Star than something like a really neutral winning tool like a Sub-Sun or a Holland Doll.
Sunflower?
Is that? It sort of feels that way. So is there? It seems like Sunflower it stifles the enemy's movement a lot more than Jellyfish Princess does. So if you're more confident in your buttons, then Jellyfish Princess is probably a better option if you don't need help.
So these 2 spells have different application. When you're trying to use or set up Satellite Sunflowers, they're typically going to come off of like combo limits, or any time where you have your opponent in the corner and you've already set them up with some kind of, like, let's say they got hit by a stray J5C and they're in hit stun in midair. Like, the next thing, their next idea is to maybe air tech to reposition themselves, or maybe they're just going to go and land. It doesn't matter. Either option is fine because you're safe to set up Satellite Sunflower in most situations. Unless they, air tech into some ridiculous, high density bullet, because that's going to go through Satellite Sunflower. But to stop that, Patchouli's options are within her D22 and her D421, because it disables 1 column in space in gameplay. So you could use it off of just those stray 5C hits or on combo limits.
Huh.
They're really good too, because and you can chase Wake Up from this situation. I mean, I find it to be okay in pressure. Like, if it's already out and you have yourself in a very offensive situation, then it just adds to your pressure ability, and it does disable, button presses. Versus where Jellyfish, you want to use this one at, let's see, probably at a distance, because it has a bit of a startup time, and you're not invincible right away, so you're gonna do something like, you throw out a 6, you want to slow them down a little bit, and then to win your neutral, you use Jellyfish Princess to enable yourself to move forward on them.
I just want to add that Jellyfish Princess makes pretty much anything safe if, you do like a 6-6C, which is kind of minus or something like that, or White Moisture makes that safe if you just cancel into it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Huh. I was thinking about this, because Satellite Sunflower seems like it has a lot of recovery, but it never felt like it was very punishable for some reason.
Depends on the move you use it off of, if you're just using it like a block string.
Yeah.
So those are some of the options that Patchouli can use to, win her neutral, but I feel like I should have prepared some kind of video to show, like, Deuce Spear setups, or like some D22 setups, because these are like some of the tools that Patchouli can make use of to just win her neutral. But most of the time when you're playing as Patchouli, you're not aggressively trying to win your neutral by just getting in on the opponent. A lot of your gameplay is going to come, and a lot of your damage is going to come from stray hits because 6C is going to snipe people trying to press buttons or in return try to snipe you. But 6C is just so annoying and so fast that you can use this for almost free.
And how does she convert off the well or no?
Not too well. No, she
Not
needs
too
other,
well.
Yeah, she needs other skills to follow up with. Like, I don't know, if you have like a 6C from like far away distance, you might be able to combo D22. You might be able to use like Deluge or, and I wouldn't recommend that, by the way. But you could also you could combo into like a very cheesy St. Elmo's Pillar because the startup is really fast, it travels really fast, good combo damage.
So that about covers the neutral, do you think?
In a nutshell, yes. You want to spam bullets in such a way where you cause your opponent to run into you or just enables your melee setups.
So once you've won neutral and like you've knocked your opponent down and you have some even more time to set up bullets, like what's Patchouli's pressure game? Like you come down in with that Oki. What are your options to pressure? What do you make people fear?
Okay, I think I can let Huz start off with pressure because he has some interesting stuff.
Yeah, what do you got?
Well, getting Oki is okay on most characters, but she's just so slow. It's really hard on the few with annoying text and stuff. But on the ones you can reliably get it on, it's best if you can land a jump 5A for it, because most other things like jump 2A or J2A can just be border escaped. Bolts can just be border escaped, but default 2-2 is pretty good for Oki. And if you're like above them and they don't tech or it's diamond dust, you can kind of go for cross ups with jump 2A.
Big reason for that?
Depends where you're doing it. Like some characters run under it a lot easier than others. It's impossible to run under the charged one, for example.
And I think some people expect the J2A hit at a certain time so they can border escape it. And if you charge it, then that timing is off.
And there's some setups where it's preferable to use a charge version due to distances, or you'd have to wait on the J2A anyways, so you might as well just charge it, stuff like that.
Based on the setup you're doing, J2A will usually be a frame trap. Though if you're trying to do the charged J2A version, this is mostly going to be for if you are misplaced in some way. So if you have like a 2C block string in setup and you want to follow up with a J2A, you'll normally just do the normal J2A. Because the charged J2A is typically like, you can react to it, you can border escape the J2A and you're always going to be safe. But if, let's say you landed, if you limited somehow at a distance, or you got a snipe and they're landing and you're going for Okizeme, right? Charge J2A is going to help you with your timing, like you do a high jump 9 into charge J2A, and that'll be very good for timing their wake up. Though you can get like, okay, depending on the setup you're doing, you can land J2A, charge J2A as a cross up. It's really strange, by the way. You just have to get used to the positioning and the spacing. But if you do something like, okay, so like 5A, 2C, and then you high jump 9, and your J2A will be a frame trap. But if you do charge J2A, it depends on the setup. And then you could cross up with the charge J2A.
Huh. I see a lot of that going into opponents' techs from quarter to neutral. Patchouli will like jump backwards and then forwards and kind of get going down for that cross up. And J2A does kind of a funny thing with momentum too.
I think so. Charge J2A, by the way, is a much larger hitbox, so you could use it as a way to like, Okay, let's say you did a D421C do spear setup, and you're trying to catch them trying to graze forward and out of the entire do spear. But your J2A hitbox is going to be so large that when you jump into them, they're going to have to block it, and they have to respect the do spear. And situations like these, they could set you up for even more block strings. You have to follow up with something like D236 or J4B.
Man, I'm messing with it right now. I can't even land a J2A.
Yeah, no, it really does require some practice in timing things. But like, think of it like this: charge J2A is going to be used for when you're trying to stop your opponent from grazing out of something. It's really as simple as that. And then sometimes you'll even end up crossing them up because they did dash under it and it hits behind you. So it's really hard to combo off of that because you need to like do a. So if you do combo it, it's gonna be like D236 and then you J44 cancel and then into another J2A.
I know the pain of getting crossed up all too well. I know Mina. He's the only Patchouli player I've played probably more than you, Zero. But I don't know what you think of him. I know he's DC level, but I see him doing. Yeah.
Mina's got a lot of good stuff, I guess. He's got 4B6C, which is a tight string, and I like it, but it's kind of the end of his pressure. Like, okay, so let's talk a little bit about Patchouli's pressure.
Get into the pressure.
The block string part.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, Apache has some pretty good block strings. Sorry, continue.
I would argue that not really. So Patchouli's block strings in pressure aren't a lot like other characters in where they're constantly trying to spam wrong blocks or just do like pressure resets. She doesn't really get good pressure resets. Like her best pressure resets are something like maybe a 2A wrong block into a D22 and then you like high jump upwards and revert back down to the ground and then that's your pressure reset. Or maybe you do like a 6E into a D421B do spear setup and then you go for a jump 9 border escape catch, which can actually border escape catch, but if they don't border escape it, well then you can just land down again and you're left safe because the do spears are following you up. And so that's another pressure reset. 4B6C is like 3 orbs of damage, I think, depending on the spacing you have. And it can be good
and if they're
pressure.
crouching, of course.
Yeah, against crouching opponents, 4B6C, it's really not too good. But 4B in pressure is great because the block stun on it is immense. You can even do things like 4B into jump 8 into another J4B. It's not always tight, depending on your spacing, but it's something you can do. But typically, when you are pressuring with Patchouli, you're trying to play around them border escaping, because the idea with pressuring with Patchouli is that you want to catch a border escape or you want to force a border escape. Either one is going to happen. It happens every single time in Patchouli pressure because nobody wants to block. The pinnacle of Patchouli pressure is 4B5C because this thing does about 3.5 orbs of damage in less than a second. If you're blocking this, you're going to get blown the fuck up. And then it becomes tight if you're using something like the 2-card Deluge, which is another 2 orbs. So first you're getting the 3.5 orbs from the bullet blow up, then you get the spell card set up, and then that's 5.5 orbs.
That's 5 orbs right there.
800 damage. Yeah.
I would say that if they're crouching, it's not going to be quiet, but if you just do this off like 5A, they're not going to be crouching generally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If they're crouching, again, some of these strings will have to change a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like she benefits greatly from respect and over-respect.
A lot of it
she
has to be
plays around
conditioned. Yeah.
catching and chasing those desperate attempts to not get crushed by 3 bullets.
If you're trying to catch a border escape, I think some of your best options are making like people are quick to border escape Patchouli pressure. So when they border escape a 4B, they're typically going to do like a border escape downwards. So the 2BE, which makes them high jump. Your best chase here is like J8A. The hitbox and startup really fast, really large. It's your go-to option. Though in my experience with this attack, it's good for chasing, and it doesn't always like border escape catch per se. It chases, and they're forced to block sometimes, but you're not always going to get the border escape catch. You're much better off trying to catch border escapes with like a J9, J5A in these situations, because depending on the setup you're doing, one is faster than the other. So like if you're doing a border escape catch for Dew Spears, you're going to want to do something like 4A 6C into Dew Spears B, which is the Dew Spears in place, and then you jump 9 into J5A, and this should be a border escape catch. And like I said, if it whiffs, then you're left safe by the Dew Spear, and you can reset pressure from there.
That's pretty cool. And about J8A, how high does that go?
Extremely.
Like with Patchouli's high jump.
It's pretty good.
It's gonna hit them pretty much. They'll be hit.
Really?
Almost
So there's
every
like
single time.
there's no characters that could like beat E2 and Patchouli.
Chase them that well.
Absolutely
true.
not.
She does benefit a lot from respect in pressure, and the way you condition that is by staggering some of her melee. Now, abusing the wrong blocks in pressure with Patchouli is kind of one of the stronger tools she has, I suppose, because most opponents are playing around 4B5C. They don't want to block this. And what that does to them is they are expecting to border escape a bullet just right away. And if you're landing things like 4A or 2A in pressure, well, that kind of throws them off a little bit. They're like, hold on a second, that wasn't a bullet. I have to keep blocking. And so you can kind of stand these staggers. So you don't want to stagger too much, because your opponent is going to catch on, and it's very mashable. Like, it's fake pressure. It truly is.
The frame rate is pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. But it's a tool you can use to force or condition respect, because from there you can go into your other setups, like, the 4B6C and the 4B5C. You could do like
Blow them the fuck up.
you can do so like one of my favorite strings is like a 4A wrong block 6C, and this isn't type, by the way, but it's all about like pressure setups and pressure resets with Patchouli, because one of the things you can do is like a 6C, you high jump 9, and then you dash down backwards, so like JD1 back to the ground, and you land cancel a J5C. And that J5C should do about 1.8 orbs of damage, because I don't think it was like the same as blocked 5C, but it's very good for pressure resets, and it's very fast. And if they don't border escape that, well, then they're gonna have to block more bullets or something. So you could do like a land cancel J5C into another 5C, and that's just another form of like Patchouli's block strings. And one of the ways you can utilize this is actually land canceling J5C off of her J5A. And you can do this mid-screen, you can do this in the corner. It's very good. And it's not tight, by the way. It's like land cancel J5C into another 5A isn't tight, but most of the time it's going to catch a border escape. So if they try to border escape downwards, or, high jump border escape, whatever, you can catch with 5AA, which actually leads into one of our other combos, which is the 5AA 6C combo. I'm sure you've seen Patchouli do this a whole hell of a lot in tournaments.
6C is 6C is pretty good. I'm just gonna say, just leave that.
Yeah, Patchouli pressure is it's all based around how fast and how efficiently you can crush. You can do pressure resets with things like D22 or D421, but ultimately, you're trying to force a border escape, or you're trying to crush them. Her mid-screen strings are pretty bad, by the way. Like, she doesn't have too much of mid-screen strings off of like maybe 4B6C or wrong block 4A 2C. She's got 5AA, but like you said, when it comes to 5AA, you're playing, like, the opponent's going to try and border escape that right away, because your best follow-up options are within your bullets. And the third hit of Dial A is actually punishable, so depending on the character you're fighting anyway.
Oh, do you know how much it's minus?
20 something, I think.
20? Oh shit.
It's bad. It's really bad. So, I mean, yeah, like the wiki would say something like, try to use this as least often as possible. But I mean, yeah, it can catch a border escape, and you can combo from it. It's really funny when you do, by the way.
Yeah, I take back what I said earlier about the third A hit being the BE catch, because I didn't know it was that punishable on block or whiff.
But mid-screen, some of our like pressure follow-ups are like this. So you could do like a 5AA 2C into D421B or D421C, and then one of the most common framing traps is to do like a jump 9 into J2A. And I think if you actually want to make it a frame trap, you have to not do the D421. But sometimes if you throw out the D421 after your 2C, like the opponent reacts to it slower, and then you get time to kind of punish their D6 with the J2A. So that's just one of the more common setups. But if you're using something like Saw Blade,
you can
go
I
ahead.
want to say something.
Go ahead.
You can go for like cross-ups with J2A if you just do like 5A, 5B, or 6C. That's pretty good too, from mid-screen pressure.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So you can try to cross up mid-screen while they're blocking?
Yeah.
Huh.
Kind of have to work with the spacing a lot because it
Yeah.
varies depending on where you are, but whether you'd use 5B or 6C or whatever. But it's possible, yeah.
Do you know any Saw Blade strings? I know of one that I want to mention.
For what in specific?
In pressure. Because a lot of Patchouli's strings can change depending on the skills she's using.
Well, you can just do it. Well, okay. If you have level 4 saw blades, then you can just saw blade whenever and do a perfectly plus if you're in the corner, and you can just attack after it and they will be minus. So that's pretty good pressure reset. You can pretty much do it off any wrong block or command melee too in the corner. So, and you can catch people pretty easily if they border escape it because that's really good cancel times. But do you want like a long string? That I can give you some of those too. Like there's in the corner. You want something that crushes and is barely border escapable. You can do any melee into 4B, 2C, 214C, and that does a little over 4 orb usually.
Oh yeah.
Because the 2C, usually the 214C is not tight with anything because it takes a lot longer. The one that shoots 2 saw blades instead of 1. But 2C's blocks don't just that long, so it actually is tight.
So we've about covered pressure, it sounds like. Is there any last things you want to add? Are there any spell cards good for pressure?
One moment, hold on. I actually wanted to like try some of these strings that I just mentioned.
Okay, do you want to stream them?
I got it on stream right now.
Oh, there we go.
But as for like Patchouli's block strings, like you can mix up your J5A by the way in pressure. So if you do like this and you're going for like the J5C land cancel and pressure, it works, but you can also mix it up. You can do something like J5A into J6A, and this is good for catching border escapes, catching any high jumps, like if somebody tries to mash out or something, or they think they're safe because they can just border escape the J5A from J5C, or like before the J5C comes out. And then you catch them with the J6A, and you can actually combo that if you're in the corner. Well, most of the time you're just going to combo it up with 6C, but if it's in the corner, you can do like 4B5C.
Oh yeah, this reminds me of something. Jump 6A against 3 tallest characters, which are Iku, Oku, and Ikari when they're crouching. You can actually do instant jump 6A and it'll hit them when they're crouching, so that's pretty good. You want to try to
That is
incorporate
pretty
that.
good. I mean, sometimes just that one instant air tool can change an entire pressure game.
I haven't really practiced enough with it to do it well, but I've labbed it a bit.
So what was the string again you said?
Which one? The corner one?
Yeah,
that does,
corner,
does a lot of...
with sublet.
Okay, I guess you have to have enough spacing between you that the 2C hits twice, which is pretty standard. But so like maybe 5A, 2A, or 3A, 5A, 3A, 2C, or not. Bleh. 5A, 3A, 4B, 2C, 214C. And if they still have border escape somehow, you could do a high jump cancel into 5C. Or something like that. Or 6C.
Okay, I think I got it. Kind of like that. 5A, 4B, 214, jump cancel J5C into another subblade.
Usually that crushes them, but I guess it depends on saw blade level. But yeah.
I mean, if
Something like
you're
that.
doing like an instant air J5C, it's really weird because you can't always like dash cancel out of it. It's just one of the weird Soku mechanics, I guess.
You can also do 4B saw blade into jump cancel 4B saw blade. That's another tight bullet string.
Okay, well, anyway, I don't want to like showcase too much Soku here because we're on a bit of a time constraint. As for like some of Patchouli's like other block string capabilities, like her aerial stuff isn't too good. She's typically gonna cancel her J5A into like J6A or J8As, unless she has like you in the air corner where she's trying to do like an air crush. So you might block a J5A in corner, and from there she can do a charge 4P into J5C. It's a potential crush setup, but it's not gonna happen most of the time. Other potential like string setups, like if you have Summer Flame, that's actually really good. That's really good, actually. Hold on, let me put that on stream really quick. I want to show you Summer Flame.
Good way to get someone to border escape. That's true.
Is that the... No.
Summer Flame is the one where it's a lot of hits. If you manage to catch somebody with it, it also does a fair amount of chip damage, right?
Yes.
Or if you
Is
get
that
them
the
to block
literal
it.
flamethrower?
Yeah, it's the flamethrower.
God, I hate that one so much.
Now, how dense is that? How dense is the flamethrower?
This is
it
probably
good
one of the
for,
most
getting rid
densest
of
bullets
bullets?
in the game. It's ridiculously dense. Like, Summer Flame, I'm sorry, Patchouli's own Summer Red, the Fireball, that thing's extremely dense by itself, and that can be deleted by Summer Flame. It's ridiculous. It's
Oh my
truly
god.
Damn.
So, Summer Flame in pressure looks kind of like this. It's a lot of 4B into Summer Flame because it's extremely tight and you can just reset pressure from it, and then you could even go into things like J5A. Now, Summer Flame at a distance, or like mid-screen, it actually opens up a different block string capability. So you can do like a Summer... you know what? Here, let me just show you. Alright, so kind of like that. You want to do like a 2C into Summer Flame, and you can J6A out of it. And that's just like, it's another way to get in on pressure, and if you got good spacing for it, like if you're near the corner, then it might open up some J5A opportunities. Kind of like that. There we go. Now, it's not tight and it's DPable, but it's still one of your options because it can open up your other stuff, which is like your J5C lane cancel, which is very good in pressure, so you can do something like this.
You have enough fake seeming options, one of them's gonna work.
Yeah. I see you also have that J6A at the end if you want for that catch.
Mm-hmm. Very good mix-up options.
So can Patchouli, can she crush into full combo? Because I'm seeing a lot of just knockdowns.
Yeah, her crushes are actually very messy. They're not the cleanest thing in the world, really, because
it's not that common.
her bullets. Yeah, you know what I'm gonna say. Her bullets are just so there's so many of them.
Spirit damage seems so variable depending on like spacing or crouching.
Yeah, unless you're fighting like Yukari, who just takes the full brunt of the thing, even crouching, pretty much.
I guess it's important to mention that if you do land something like if you do cancel into J6A, some of your pressure follow-ups are kind of like this. You can do 2C, you can follow up into 6-6A into and if that wrong blocks, you can do maybe like if you have the respect, you can do like another pressure reset with D22, or you can do spear setup. But I kind of like canceling J6A into 6-6A, because from there you can do a D236, and if you have Summer Flame, well, that just opens up your next block string, which is Summer Flame, J4B into another Summer Flame. And that can crush, and it can also do a lot of chip damage. Okay, so... and it can be a border escape catch, or it can catch mash, it can catch high jump. But if you're canceling J6A into something, 6-6C is another good option, because that one catches a lot of high jumps. And I don't know why, but people think it's always okay to press buttons after J6A. So that's kind of one of the things you get to make use of. Also, I have like a whole bunch of videos to show off. It's just, it's really hard to keep up with all this because I'm streaming, I'm talking, I'm trying to show things.
Yeah, we have Zero, who used to be a host, took the L and was just like, we'll go down to 2 hosts, I'll just stream. And now he's a guest and a host.
He's everything now.
And the streamer.
Well, I don't know.
This is all part of the
mention about pressure HUDs?
Well, I'll say one thing: if you run white moisture, people are going to stop 6B'ing you.
We'll talk about
that.
That
Helps your pressure a lot.
Well, we've already talked about what your goal is in pressure, and the crush with 4B5C, because it's just that strong of a tool. She doesn't have too many border escape catches, and like I said, if you're going to try to border escape catch, it's going to be with J5A, J9 J5A, or border escape chase if you have like a bad string, is going to be J8A. That's typically your follow-up. If you got somebody who's like trying to like escape your pressure and corner a lot, and they're just maybe trying to D6 your stuff, you can do something like so like 5AA 6C, and you just do like this. You high jump up and then you land back down, and then you can just go right back into melee. It's really funny sometimes when you do land it.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. I'm watching the stream and it's like a bit behind, so I'm trying to get all this info.
One more thing is, if you're fighting someone who really just border escapes the first sign of a bullet, sometimes you can just throw out like a 5B or something, because it has a lot better cancel time than 4B. And it really helps you catch the border escape, not just have a block it.
By the way, if you are crushing your opponent with your strings, Patchouli has some of the best resets in the world. I'm just straight up, I need to say that, because I don't think most characters reset as well as Patchouli does. Because if she crushes you off of her strings, or she can land like a lot of her combos, but her combos are very interchangeable, and then she could also end with things that lead into more pressure. Because her combos, like, a lot of them are going to end with 6C, but what you can do is you can cancel out a 6C into like a D22, or maybe you even just stop the combo there and you just go right back into it. So resets with Patchouli are very good, and I feel like J4B, Charge J4B is one of the more useful tools she can crush with, because if she lands that kind of crush, then it's just another good reset. Here, I'm going to showcase like 2 strings, by the way, because I think it would be really interesting for you. This is a mid-screen Deuce Spear setup, and I think you guys might want to see it. You might see this like in neutral, or if you're fighting a Patchouli and they're running Deuce Spears, one of the setups you might see from them goes kind of like this. So that right there is a Deuce Spear setup. You high jump up and you dash backwards, and the hitbox on your J5A, this is what's going to set them up. And if they block it, they also block the Deuce Spear. Now, and if you have them in the corner, it gets even better. Because what you can do from there, it looks like this. So like that, and then if you have like level 2 Deuce Spear, you can actually combo string into a charged 6C. It needs to be like level 2 Deuce Spear though, because the more Deuce Spears you have, the better, the longer the block string. And that can lead to a full crush. And depending on the distance, you can actually block string 6C into 236. So there's just a lot of neat stuff, and you'd have to like visit the Patchy server in order for me to tell you all this. I feel like there was another setup up I wanted to tell you, but all right, I think we should move forward.
Probably.
Yeah, so we've mostly covered Patchouli's pressure, but what about opponent pressure? What about Patchouli's defense? Like, does she have any utilizable gimmicks that give her a good defense? Is she just block and BE? What are her options?
Okay, I'll let Huz start off with defense.
Well, she has a lot of reversals. She has, 2 reversal cards and then Spring Wind, which is D623 to help get you off people, but that's a lot easier to punish than you might first let on.
Mm-hmm.
People get used to it. But and then there's 5C. If you actually experience someone's pressure enough and figure out where there's like this tiny little gap, especially in air pressure, then you can just hit 5C. It will actually work a lot.
And won't it deal like 1.5k?
Yeah.
If they're right
I doubt you'll hit
under
that
the hitbox. Yeah.
You can if you're depending on the angle and what moves you're on, you can convert it into more though. But aside from that, she doesn't really have any special besides having a bunch of reversals and Spring Wind and having a really fast omnidirectional bullet. She doesn't have any particular defensive gimmicks, I would say, that I can think of.
Defensive gimmicks? Well, I mean, I know of one that you like to abuse all the time, Huz, and it starts with Wipe Moisture into that fancy Elemental Harvester. Now, why do you do that? Tell me, why do you do that, Huz?
Offensive.
Okay, so Patchouli's defense is she's one of the most turtly characters in the game. Truly, she is. Because a lot of her buttons, they have like a lot of recovery to them. So if she whiffs something, it's almost always going to be punished. She has to be very careful about what button she's pressing, and she can't just use her melee, like I said. Defensive-wise, you would say that J5C is a very defensive tool because of the way it acts. J5C is a bullet that travels all around her. It's got like 11 frames of startup. It's really good, and it's kind of like her J5A of choice, to be honest. So when you're playing around your opponent, like and you're neutral and they're trying to like outmaneuver you, J5C acts like a wave of bullet that leaves you safe. They either have to fully graze into you, or they have to, snipe you doing your J5C or something like that. It's really good as a defensive tool, just because it's really hard to get into on Patchouli once she goes up to the ceiling and uses a J5C, because even that is like a stronger neutral tool. But it's also very defensive because of how fast of a startup it is. So let's say you whiffed a J8A and you for some reason have enough time to throw out a J5C, that one's going to cover your back. That J5C is going to literally have your back. Her other buttons, in like defensive wise, she's not very good at mashing things out because her 4A, like she's got some of the slowest melee in the world. Her 4A is like 9 frames. She's got 2A, which is I think like 10 frames. And they're just not the best mashing tools, and the hitboxes on them, they're not really that good either. So yeah, you might be able to mash out some other fake block strings with 4A. 2A is just a little bit slower, albeit a little bit longer, I guess. You can kind of reach some other people when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's a bit longer. Yeah, I was just talking about like pressure while you're in like block strings, but I guess Zero covered the neutral stuff fairly well.
Yeah, 4B, okay, 5C startup, Yuganu, it's, on the ground, it's 12 frames. In the air, it's 11 frames. I think I had that right, unless it's the other way around.
Right.
Either way, it's
right.
really freaking fast. So you can counter hit a lot of people who are trying to jump in on you, and you blow their face up with the 5C or J5C. That's 1.8k damage, by the way. That's a lot of damage.
Just don't do the basic jump in on Patch. Don't try it. Unless you have the most Unga J2A like Ihu ever, then just don't.
Yeah, that's It's kind of ridiculous startup for a bullet that's already really good.
Mm-hmm. Like, this is the bullet you want to spam. Like, okay, we're kind of going back to neutral again, but it's, like, important to mention because this bullet opens up your other stuff. So when you're practicing Patchouli and you want to learn neutral, one of the things I recommend you learn right away is you want to land cancel this 5C. You want to learn how to land cancel, and you're going to learn today. Now, let me tell you why. Because this opens up so many other things. Off of a J5C land cancel, you could combo into things like 6-6B. Maybe they were in the air. You can combo into a J8A, which combos into a J6C. You can get setups off of them. So let's say you do a land cancel J5C. You can go into another 5C, which is another wave of bullets. Actually, hold on. Let me pull up the Patchouli simulator by Test Zero. Maybe you'll get an idea.
Hey, land cancel jump 5C is a limit.
It is. You can combo J5C into 5C for a limit. It's so stupid. Oh, I love this bullet. Okay. Let's see if I can pull this up for you. Okay, so like I said, this J5C land cancel business, it's something you want to practice because it's one of the things that wins you neutral. It's really annoying for your opponent to play around, and then you have like free movement after it. You don't have to cancel into another 5C from it. You can just go, you can land cancel the J5C, and then you can just jump backwards. Like, you just stop the string right there, and then you return back to neutral, maybe jump backwards, see how your opponent's moving around, and then, play accordingly, like so. And you can do, like, a land cancel J5C and jump backwards into a J6A, which is another defensive maneuver. Like, her defense is all about, like, it's all about ways of walling off your opponent. So, yeah, you can mash out of like pressure strings or something like that, but that's something like every character can do. Something that's unique to Patchouli is how she stops you from approaching her, which is very weird when you think about it, because in Soku you got a lot of aggressive characters, and their bullets and their goals are just to win neutral right away and to land that J5A, get you in block string, and aim for a crush. Patchouli is very different because she's always playing neutral, and she needs to play her neutral defensively in order to get like the edge on you. So she's playing in ways to kind of make you run into her bullets, which is a defensive maneuver, like I said before, and it's off of this defense that allows her to get into offensive situations. Otherwise, defensively, yeah, Huz said it. She has some of the best reversals in the game. She's got Silent Celine, which just does like 3,000. It's a 4-card reversal for 3,000 damage. That's insane.
That's pretty good.
She's got Emerald City, which is replacement for 421, and then she's got. Actually, she has the wind. She has the wind. But all right, hold on. Let's move forward because that's just about it I had for her. Defensive tools.
Yeah, so it sounds like her defense comes mostly from her ability to keep people away in neutral so she doesn't have to be blocking all that much.
Yeah, you're trying to prevent having the block at all. That's what it is.
So now that we've covered that, I mean, we can get right into the card discussion. Your favorite part.
Okay. Card discussion. Yay!
Yay!
Alright, but again, I'll let Huz start first.
Yeah, so we're gonna start with the skill cards. What skills do you want to cover? Which ones do you think are viable, and how do they work exactly? You can go anywhere you want with this.
Well, I'd say most of them are viable, with maybe a few that are just really case specific. Like, you can probably find some uses for diamond hardness, but it's not going to be used very often. Sticky bubbles is bad. It's just bad. I'm out. I'm not saying it's good, but it is interesting, and we have time. I'd like to go over it, but most of the other ones are pretty good in some way or another. Even default 214 is only okay. It's hard to get much use out of it because of how clunky it is.
So if
Go ahead.
So if somebody was starting out and just starting to play Patchy, what would you recommend as far as skills go?
Ooh,
Probably the defaults. Probably the defaults with maybe Emerald City instead of Dew Spears. And maybe Saws instead of the default 214.
So
yeah, D214 is pretty bad.
Yeah, it seems like D214 is sort of a worse version of Saws.
It's definitely bad at level 0. But
Yeah, Saws looks like it covers a lot more area for a lot longer.
Yeah, but the only things that I can think of that default 214 has going for it is if you level it, then if one of the bullets hits, they all home in on the target. So that's nifty. And really, the only real applications, though, are still just you can crush someone in the air if they're out of air movement really easily with it if it's leveled. And also, if you use it on a block string, it's like plus 12 without jump canceling it when it's leveled. So that's something, I guess, but we'll probably just get Mortar Escape. That's about all I have to say on D214, really.
I'm gonna put like my beginner's deck of recommendation on stream. I had to find it. I had to go through like the Patchy Discord just to find this. But it's something. It's a whole bunch of tools in this deck that I think are best for a new Patchouli player. Maybe I can talk about this one a little bit. Okay. So Patchouli typically, if you find yourself in someone's pressure, like Hangeki is going to get you out for basically free every single time, depending on how you use it. You just got to not like use it right away. See how your opponent pressures a little bit. Summer, I would say this deck is pretty good for beginners because
4 Summer
skills,
Reds.
Yes, the default skills are going to be kind of the foundation of I don't know, like you're going to build your deck, your playstyle off of the default skills to start with, because you need to get used to how these bullets, these skills work before you can start using your other stuff. To get an idea of how Patchouli plays in general, Summer Red's really good because it's extremely dense and it's good for combos. It's really strong. D22 is good for sniping. It's really aggressive and you can use it in pressure strings. St. Elmo's Pillar is really good for finishing your combos. It's, by the way, like St. Elmo's Pillar, it's really tough to use. It's either you're sniping with it or you're comboing with it. Don't use it as a reversal. Don't be like me and Huz. We make this mistake all the time. Elemental Harvester is a reversal. It's two cards, it's cheap, and you can do D2 setups off of them. We'll talk about Royal Flare in a moment, but 2 Royal Flares because you want to understand when it is your turn to be aggressive. Like you need to condition your opponent to like respect some of your stuff, and Royal Flare is going to be the card that does that. Another 2 more reverses for you, Silent Celine, just because. And then Jellyfish Princess is kind of a player's choice, I guess. You can remove this for any other system card or maybe another spell card of your choice, but Jellyfish Princess I think is safe for beginners because if you're trying to win neutral and you're kind of confused, maybe your opponent isn't like as aggressive as you thought they were going to be, and you find yourself with a little bit of meter to spend, Jellyfish Princess is going to be there for you. Now, going back to the default skills, 623 is good. You can use this on Wake Up, and you can 623 out some bad Okizeme, like someone's trying to do a 6A or a 3A Okizeme on you, and you're out for free, because the B version has melee invul on startup. So you could use this to get out of someone's Okizeme when they're doing some bad stuff on you. So it's another one of those defensive Wake Up tool mix-ups, because she has like a lot of different Wake Up options. D214, really bad. It's designed to be a snipe. It's not very strong, though. And if you have it, like, leveled up to 4 or something, yeah, you can do a lot of orb damage off of it. But, again, it's not really good, because it's got a lot of startup. It requires the God setup. Yeah. Oh, Jesus, what is this? Oh, is that the Advice Owl deck?
Yes, it's the Advice Owl deck.
This is pretty good. No, this is pretty... But, again, this is a flavor pick, because he's got 4 Satellite Sunflowers in there. And if he knows Satellite Sunflower as much as I do, he'd know why people don't like it. But 4 Royal Flares, that's very Unga. I like this. I both like it and think it's retarded at the same time. Where was I? Default skills.
Yeah, skills.
So I'm just covering defaults right now, but like D22, this is more of a snipe mechanic. I feel like D22 is best used at full to mid screen, depending on where your opponent is. If you have at least one extra level in D22, it reaches the ceiling. So that's the start of it. This can be good against characters like Yuko or Suwako, who like to go to the ceiling and they do like J5C, or you got Suwako who's doing the water, spamming the water at you.
J8A.
Yeah, J8. It just snipes her. It deletes her ability to press J8A. So D22 is really strong in these setups.
That's cool.
In these matchups. And let's see, in the last default was D2, 214, 236, 22. Which one did I not talk about? 421? Do Spears! Do Spears!
Yeah. Do Spears.
The best of the best. So kind of like D22, this is a neutral zone tool. Like, this is your zoning tool. This skill stays out for a very long time, and if you decide to level D421, which is the Do Spear, I should really be pulling up like card images right now. I need to talk though. Do Spears are good because if you're practicing your setups, you'll find that Do Spear opens up a whole lot of different opportunities for you. So if you throw out a Do Spear in neutral and pressure, you have a couple different options. If they high jump it or try to JD6 out of it, you can catch them with J8A. If they decide to block it, you can actually enable your pressure from there. One of my favorite things to do is to like do a combo reset. So if you land a 6-6B, you can combo into something like 5AA, charged 6C, and from there you go right into Do Spear a lot. You probably see a lot of Patchoulis do this, and that's because Do Spear is a very good zoning tool. So when you throw it out after this combo, you open up the opportunity to do like a jump 9 J5A to catch an air tech. You could high jump 8. So just normal high jump, and then you go straight into J6A, and this kind of walls them off. So they try to dash through it, thinking like, okay, maybe I can get out of these Do Spears, or maybe I can just mash Patchouli when she's trying to do something dumb, and then J6A just blows them right back into Do Spears. It's like the ultimate setup, really. It's broken as fuck, and I love it too. But I mean, if they block it from there, it's not like you can't get out of pressure from Do Spears here. So you can border escape the Do Spear after you've blocked like J6A or what have you, and you have to graze out from the top. So that's how you escape Do Spears. That's all. That's it for the defaults.
Another note on Do Spears. 5C Do Spears actually jump cancels faster than just 5C.
Yes, very good cancel speed.
So what alternate skill cards would you recommend to people? What's worth bringing into your deck to level or to not that would be better than the defaults?
Give me 1 sec, be right back.
Okay, I guess I'll start. Hold on, I want to bring up the card images so you guys know what I'm talking about.
We can give you a second.
This is from like the last podcast, so I have to go back. Episode 26, skills. Okay, sure. I'll talk about Summer Flame a little bit.
Okay.
So, one of my favorite decks that I've ever seen somebody ever play was with Blaze Dragon. And he built a deck off of 4 times Summer Flame and 4 times Nuclear Rods. And the strategy with the deck is to chip damage your opponent to death. You use this skill in conjunction with the rods and just do thousands and thousands of chip damage. You don't even have to guard crush your opponent. This skill is that strong in chip damage. It is some of the strongest chip damage in the game.
Does it have Dragon Stars in it as well? Doesn't Dragon Star increase the amount of chip damage you do?
Dragon Star?
I swear I've heard that it does that.
Dragon Star is a super armor tool. That's a system card.
Do I need to go test this?
There's no way.
Dude, I've never heard of
I
that.
swear I heard that from somebody. I'm probably completely wrong here then.
Yeah, his advice all said, by the way. Mountain Dew is for Dew Spear users, because we're the MLG players. But anyway.
Hey,
That summer flame strat, it makes me so angry, but I really like the ingenuity.
It works. It works to
Yeah.
some extent. Like, some people are going to call you a troll when you start using control rods, but that's just Soku community. Nobody uses control rods unless you're like, I don't know, maybe it's Suho. You know, really get the damage that you're looking for.
what, do you want to kill in 2 combos instead of 3?
That sounds like Eternal Fighter Zero more than it does to Hisoutensoku. But anyway, like, you probably saw it when I was streaming the block strings before, but yeah, this is extremely good for block strings. Like I said, you do the Summer Flame into 4B, jump cancel J4B into another Summer Flame, and you can do whatever from there. It's also really good to just use the C version a lot in neutral. So, like, let's say you're on the ground and you're just using the C version, you have to graze through the full thing. If you want to like beat this card, you have to fly over it. You have to go fly over it, fly behind Patchouli, and just try and like hit her after that, because you're not gonna beat her out of this.
I've tried to graze through and it just does not work.
Graze attacks do work. It just depends on the character. Like, I noticed some characters don't have the the graze right away when they activate their graze attack. Itsuho is one of the characters that actually can do this. So her 6-6B goes right through Summer Flame, and she can counter hit you if you're trying to use this too much. So graze attacks are good against this. Other ways you can beat it, it has a really weird hitbox in front of her if you're using the C version. So if you graze up and she's in the air using the aerial version of Summer Flame, you just need to go above her, and you could do something like a J5A or a J2A, and that'll counter hit her out of this. The B version and the C version don't hit above her, so being above her in this scenario is where you want to be. I think that just about does it for Summer Flame. I guess I'll move on to... I'll let Huz handle the bubbles. I can't do the bubbles. Do you want to talk about the bubbles?
You should do White Moisture since it's also 2-3-6 first.
Okay. I typically don't use this skill a lot. It's not really one of my skills of choice. But the idea with this is that, you know how a lot of Patchouli's block strings are just, they're border escapable, you high jump out of them because you know she's going to cancel into bullets a lot. But this is her frame trap tool, much like how Yukari has default 623, or maybe, crap, I don't know why I can't think of, like, melee cancels right now, because they're just not coming to me. But, okay, so Marisa, maybe D214 or 623, just melee cancels in general, or Komachi's Taste of Death. This is the frame trap for Patchouli, because this is a melee skill, but it's also a bullet at the same time, because it does chip damage. Really strange.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it deletes bullets.
You can even whiff cancel it, despite it counting as melee.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't ask me how this works.
Whiff cancel. So yeah, that's true. So I guess if you whiff or your 6-6B gets grazed, you can cancel right into this. It's really nice. You can do like 5-5A into 6A, and they think, oh well, a bullet's coming next. I better border escape that White Moisture. It gets really dumb sometimes because this conditions a lot of respect, but it also deletes some of your 2-3-6 options. So when you're trying to pressure your opponent, and you don't have something like D236 or Summer Flame as your pressure tool, you have to use some really different mechanics, which is why this often combos very well with something like Sawblade, the 214 replacement, because it's like another fireball option, and it also goes above you. So I think now we can talk about Sawblade. I know we're jumping around, but it's also very important to like talk about these in a certain order, because some combos with Patchouli are better than others. So White Moisture with Sawblades is one of those better combos. Go ahead, Huz.
Oh, I just want to add that White Moisture is very unsafe, so you do not want to use it at point blank or anything like that, unless you have a spell card to cancel it into. So keep that in mind.
So it's safer at a range?
Yeah, if you actually use it at a distance, it pretty much never gets punished.
Huh.
especially mid-screen. A few characters can punish it at a distance in the corner, though, but yeah. Anyways, for Saw Blades, this is just the super skill that does everything. It's basically a replacement for default 236 if you're not using it. It's not as good for combo damage typically because it has pretty high proration, but it has a lot of uses. It's really good for confirming stray 5C hits into like a real limit, especially if they're above you. It's usually pretty hard to do this. You can just 5C, throw Saw Blade out, 6-6, or jump 6-6, I mean, and jump 8-8 or whatever you need to, depending on where they are, usually limits. And for pressure, it's really good because it has probably the best cancel times out of all our skills in terms of like, well, besides Dew Spears, that's true. Dew Spears has less, and it has a lot of blocks done because it hits multiple times depending on level. At level 1 it hits 3, and level 2 and 3 hits 4, and level 4 hits 5 times. So level 4 it's actually plus on block if you don't cancel it. So that's a nifty thing you can try and abuse.
Ooh, it's plus on block? Why do I not know this? It's because I don't use this as much, it has to be.
And if you're fighting someone with a slow jab, then you can kind of abuse the 2 and 3 one, and they won't be able to just mash out of it. Because that's neutral on block.
I know Sigurds likes to call this the budget fireball. Or no, the discount fireball. Any idea why that might be?
I don't know. It has more uses than fireball, but I guess in terms of combo damage, yeah, that's true. But I should explain the difference between B and C version, I guess. B version, it's a lot faster. It has like 17 frame startup, and it just shoots one saw, and it aims directly at the opponent up to like a total 90-degree arc, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And the C version, it sort of intentionally misses. Like, that's the best way to describe it. Like, it'll always aim one saw. It shoots 2 saw blades, and it'll always aim one, like, try to aim one above them and one below them, but there's a limit to it. Like, it still uses the same 90-degree arc, so at certain ways you can get or certain angles you can get the saw blades to actually go at them directly, but it tends to want to intentionally miss, like, which is good in some cases. Like, you can use it to make a landing really safe by just throwing out 2 on 4C, and the saw goes straight down, so you can just follow it down, since it has infinite graze distance, and not really much they can do to hit you in most cases.
You know, I just thought about it, but you can land cancel this, right? So the C version does 2. It does 2 saw blades. So if you land cancel it, that's like 1.5 orbs. But this is, I don't know if I would do that in pressure.
It seems hard.
It sounds kind of silly.
Orb damage actually varies on level 2. At level 4 it's 1 orb each saw, and it's 3/5 that at level 1. And it's density too, same thing. It's a good skill level, but it's also pretty usable at 1 too, just as a confirm tool and neutral tool.
Okay, I think that just about does it for Saw Blade. I don't have too much more to say about this one because I'm more of like a practical, like, I think about the practical uses of each spell before like any numbers come into play, and I just typically think Saw Blade is good for any of those slower aerial characters, so like Suwako, Yuko, Itsuho, sometimes Yukari, not really though, because the density on Saw Blade isn't too good. It can be deleted pretty easily.
Yeah, it's not as much as Fireball.
It's good. It's good versus Sanai. Extremely good versus Iku. You know, it's a very good D214 replacement. And if you're gonna replace D214, definitely go with this. Okay,
so we've covered the defaults: Summer Flame, White Moisture, Autumn Blade. We don't have too much more time. Is there like one more significantly good alternate skill?
Okay, I'll blow through the 4-2 ones, because I can do those really
Okay.
quickly. And then I can talk about Force Slasher, and I think that's the last skill we have to talk about. So, Emerald City, you know this to be one of the DPs of choice for Patchouli. It's a 4-2-1 replacement. So, by replacing your 4-2-1 with Emerald City, you're going to remove your option to have some Dew Spear setups, you know, your neutral setups, some of your stronger tools. But you replace that with something that's very good defensively, and by defensively I mean like this is like what, a 9-frame start, 4-frame start. I don't remember what's the startup on this. It's so fast, but
On Emerald City,
yeah,
it's like 13 at level 1 and like 11 at level 2 or plus or something.
Yeah,
it's pretty fast. I don't
that's
know.
exactly it. It's 11 at level 2.
Okay, so and this is the this is kind of a DP that you use to kind of punish your opponent for doing fake block strings. So, and it's really good, and it cancels things that aren't tight. So for instance, Yomu's Dilate, like the third hit of it isn't tight. This is DPable. This is where you use Emerald City. If people are doing like some kind of pressure resets and they're going for like another J6A or another J5A pressure reset, you can just punish that with Emerald City. It takes a lot of knowledge and practice to understand when you need to Emerald City someone's pressure. And you might be called a gorilla for mashing your DP a lot, but all DPs really just come from your knowledge of like character pressure. So get to learning this DP. It's really good. The other one is Diamond Hardness. Now, I have to talk about this because I know nobody will. Nobody in the server is ever going to talk about Diamond Hardness.
It's true, probably.
It's not very good. Let me just straight up. It's not very good competitively. You don't want to use this over Dew Spears, and you definitely don't want to like get rid of your DP. So, but this is a flavor choice, and let me tell you why. Because if you decide that you don't care about Okizeme and you want to be the super armor king of Hisoutensoku, you activate this on limits. Diamond Hardness is it's your super armor in a bag. You carry this with you. A portable Dragon Star, but it only blocks 1 hit. So the idea behind this is that you land a combo, you get a limit out of it. Instead of going for Okizeme, nah, we're the Chad Diamond Hardness user. We don't care about that. We don't need pressure. So we go back
equip that armor.
Yes, we use the armor. But I do find that it can be very useful against meaty melee attack users. So that's like Sakuya, that's Tenchi, that's Utsuho. It can be Surno, but not her Jade. That's Suika. And I also think it's good against Sanai. And I actually used this against Dionator in one of the tournaments because I didn't want to deal with 623. But it's very good against some of the slower characters and the meaty characters. The reason being is because they don't really get too many good melee cancels off of those 1 or 2 hits, and Diamond Hardness is you're able to punish your opponent off of these attacks. So you eat the attack like a gorilla, and then you get to combo them after. So that's the idea behind Diamond Hardness. It takes a lot of practice, though.
It also reduces damage for a variable amount of time.
Yes, it does. And you can
Starting at 20%.
you can build the tank patchy deck by running dolls in Diamond Hardness, and then if you got Diamond Hardness up and you get hit by a 5C, I don't know, it's probably gonna do like 700 damage. Alright, the last skill is Force Slasher. Now, I actually have an entire video that I could show you about doing Force Slasher setups, and you know what, after the podcast is over, no, I won't do it now. I'll do it after the podcast is over, because I feel like these videos are kind of important for you guys to see, for anyone who's watching the Patchouli podcast. So, Force Slasher is another, it sets up similar to Satellite Sunflower, so you're going to want to use it on limits. You want to use the ability to high jump cancel off of Force Slasher into your other Okizeme setup. So you could, let's say you landed a limit in corner. Typically you want to limit with 5C instead of a skill, because off of the 5C you can cancel into Force Slasher. And what you can do from there is you can chase ground text by doing like a backdash, or maybe you can high jump backwards and do a J2A. And if you do that, then you unleash your Force Slasher. That it's like, it continues your pressure, so you can do more stuff after that. And it's all tight too, like Force Slasher is really good in pressure. But you know, it requires you to have it set up, and you have to hold it down for a little bit. When you level it up, it gets more swords, does more damage, but the fun thing to note about this skill is that it doesn't add any limit. So you can get a lot of damage off of this skill, but it requires, like, the god setup. It requires the stars to align. But, I mean, it happens, and if you can land it, well, then you got yourself a minimum of 3.6 thousand damage combos and higher.
Yeah, it does a lot of damage if you do it right.
Yeah.
Also,
Go ahead.
random PSA, if you spell cancel this skill at the earliest frame possible, all the swords you just owned will die. You have to do it second frame or later. Very dumb, yeah, I know, but it's just how it is.
Wait, for spell canceling this?
Yeah, for the swords.
Oh. Wait, see, I I don't have that much experience. I know how to use it, but not. I didn't know that about the spell cancel. So, +1 to you. I think that just about does it for skills. Unless
Now it's time for the real skill, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Sticky bubbles.
Let's go.
Sticky bubbles.
Give it. Just lay it on me.
Okay, I just a little bit about sticky bubbles. How exactly does it work? Because I've never actually seen somebody use it. I've only seen it in like a single combo in some weird esoteric combo video. I have no idea how the skill actually works.
I'll try and lay it out real quick. Okay, shoots out bubbles. They're unblockable but grazable, and 10 bubbles. They have a duration of about, like, depending on the skill level, but let's just say 20 seconds. And if 10 bubbles land on the opponent, then they're just grabbed essentially for 2 seconds, go up in the air in a bubble. And the optimal conversion off this is just double charge jump 6E, which does about 3k.
Interesting, but the reason why it's bad is because it's very predictable.
No, the reason why it's bad is because you have to level it to level 3 before it stops sucking.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
The bubble shot progression goes like this. At level 1 it shoots 7, at level 2 it shoots 8, and at level 3 and 4 it shoots 12. This increases the firing speed.
So the first cast of the skill won't even do it. Won't even get the grab off the first one. Does it keep them in hit stun while for the entire duration of the skill?
If they're knocked down or whatever.
Interesting.
Which is what I wanted to say. I think the skill is best used as, like, basically a combo ender type thing where you can Oki them where they have 9 bubbles on them. Like, I can give it a video if you want to see of a sample combo.
Oh yeah, Twitch clips. Okay, I'll put that on. 1 second.
But yeah, basically, point of this combo is, well, okay, I should just explain real quick. Sticky Bubbles doesn't have any damage or hit stun, but it does refresh the untech time. So if you can kind of guide someone to the ground with it, you'll actually get a full knockdown.
Oh, that's interesting. So you use Sticky Bubble as part of the setup, like you would use D22 or default 421.
Yeah, you kind of like try and end the combo with them landing on the ground.
So that they kind of feel even more pressured to border escape, and you can catch them more easily.
Yeah,
so it has a use, but it's really niche. Well, it's not even as niche as some of the other.
Like I said, it's fine. It could be usable if you didn't need to level it to 3, but
yeah,
and it replaces a good skill. Though.
Yeah,
but if you put 9 bubbles on them when they're getting up, if they long block, then they're just grabbed.
Yeah, this is a funny one. Because you like, if you condition your opponent to, like, block stuff, like if you have white moisture maybe and you're using sticky bubbles and they're expecting white moisture, it's like, get some bubbles. You stick, like, I don't know, 7 bubbles on them, and they're like, what the fuck just happened? I have to block the bubbles.
You can try and use it like in normal block strings and stuff, but it's kind of sketchy sometimes.
I think the optimal combo after getting a successful raw bubble on somebody is like charge J6C, backdash cancel, charge J6C, and it's kind of like that. Okay, I think we have to blow through spells, so Do you want to start
So-
with the spells?
We can start with Deluge, I think, because it has decent uses. It's a pretty versatile tool, isn't it?
It's not even really that versatile. It's just good.
Well, its single use tends to
has
work
two
well
uses.
with. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just get all into it. Okay, you delude after 5C. That's 2 more orb spirit damage. That's its main use. It's 5C into delude is actually tight. You can't border escape in between it because basically you start the spell the same frame the bolts are coming out. It's kind of weird, but that's how it works. And the other use is just upping your damage on like air combos and stuff. You can get some okay extra damage, like maybe up to 1,000 more depending on the hit. Don't use this in neutral, never. Just don't. Don't.
Yeah, this is it's a very cheap, cost-efficient orb to like cost damage. So 2 cards for 2 orbs, pretty good, and you can use it in a lot of situations. I feel just not mid-screen. And it's got some good combo like finishes. Like okay, let's say you landed a J6C or like a J8A and you went into J6C. You can combo into Deluge here, and that'll limit your combo for you instead of having to do like the charge J6C into J44 J5C. So it does give you some combo options in places that you couldn't normally combo. Another option is like a J5A into J6C, and then you combo into this spell. So that's kind of Deluge usage. There's not much to it. You use this for comboing, and you use it to guard crush.
Pretty simple, pretty good.
Elemental Harvester. So this one's pretty good. I actually, when I started playing this Hisoutensoku, I didn't like this spell because it's a very cheap spell, a very cheap reversal for about 800 damage, and that's really what turned me off from using this one.
Dude, that's like 1,400. Come on.
Like this is big girl damage right here, the biggest girl damage, but it's very good in situations where you find yourself having to. Like, okay, let's say somebody grazes behind you and you just did like a 5C. You're now stuck in place and you're probably going to get counter hit by something. So if you're facing a Remilia and they try to do like a J6A right after dashing behind you, you can activate this, I guess. It's okay. It's an okay reversal. It's just, it saves you from certain situations. And it's just a good spell cancel out of most of Patchouli's bullets. Though there are some setups with this.
Are you gonna go into those?
Yeah, I feel like I should mention a couple of the spell setups. For Elemental Harvester, this one's not too bad. I think it's very good because if you have an opponent that's at 5 orbs, they're thinking like, oh, I can block at least 1 bullet and then I'll be alright. But one of the setups for Elemental Harvester is you do like a 4B, 5C, or sometimes if they're lower at maybe like 4 or 3 orbs, you can do like 5C into D22. And then you go straight into this spell. It's extremely strong. It's a very tight string, except for the D22 part. But it doesn't matter, because if they try to high jump that, or if they try to border escape something, which they won't be able to, they're going to get hit by the physical hit of the Elemental Harvester. And it's very good, because it's a full crush. It's a good combo. It's very good. If you want to learn Elemental Harvester, that's just one of the more staple strings you need to learn. Let's see if I can pull up another video for you guys. And these are just gameplay videos, by the way.
Another note real quick on Elemental Harvester is if you're using it someone who's in the corner, it's generally going to be safe. But not always, but most of the time. And it's very hard to punish when it isn't. And another note is against a few characters, I believe it's Sakuya, Mei Ling, Oku, Marissa, Reimu, and Suika. If you use it against them on the ground, typically you'll be able to follow it up with 5AA, 5Z for like 3k.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So
the
that's
monsoon.
And Monsoon, if you'll be able to follow it up for sure.
We totally forgot to talk about Monsoon because that one's so silly. Like, what I'm saying is, like, Elemental Harvester or 2C or White Moisture and Monsoon is ridiculous because you can combo from them. Like, White Moisture combos into itself. Elemental Harvester, you get 5 AA setups. 2C, just, you spam 2C into combos, it combos into itself. So, just a little fun fact for you there. Okay, next spell. We're not going to talk about all of them because, you know, it's still on that time restraint here. I don't know, how much time do we have left?
We got 5 minutes until 2 hours.
Maybe we're going a little late.
We're gonna go over, it's fine.
Okay, we're gonna go over a little bit, but just so you guys know, online breakdown is happening in about 5 to 10 minutes, so just look out for that on Shimator's Twitch channel. So next, let's talk about St. Elmo's Pillar. This spell is used to finish your combos. It can be used to snipe people out of the air, and it can, in some cases, be used as a reversal. And the reason I say that is because it has graze. If you're using St. Elmo's Pillar as a reversal, you're only going to do it when you're trying to graze someone's bullet and pressure. But that's the only time you're going to find it as a reversal. The startup is like 12 frames, and once it's out, there's no stopping it. It's going to fire. Whether you get hit, it's not going to be stopped. And it can be an
it has
okay...
one active frame, so you can't really eat it with other bullets either.
Yeah, that's right. I forget the counter hit damage. I think it's actually better than Silent Celine in some situations. Because if you counter hit with this 3 card, you, I think it does like 3.8 thousand damage. I think it's that much damage. This 3 card is ridiculous. But that's like the only time you might see it as a reversal. But otherwise, you use the snipe, you use to finish your combos. Voila.
Now, I just have one question about the 3-card Elmo's Pillar. Elmo's Pillar. Does the startup, does it take the same amount of time to throw it regardless of where the enemy is on the screen, or does it take longer if they're farther away? Because it seems pretty fast.
Actually, I have researched this one.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's coming to the Patchouli server that Huz and I were working on were like very specific information about spell card usage. St. Elmo's Pillar does have different travel times. So at close range, what the hell is it? It's, I don't know, do you care about numbers?
Yes.
The minimum distance, it's active on frame 60. So at full distance, it's active on frame 85. So there you go.
It's not that much of a difference. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really, it's fast, but it's best if used close. And that's why it can sometimes be a reversal, but, you know, it's... Don't use it for that. It's not meant for that. It's really not.
Yeah, you have plenty of other options. You have a Silent Celine and Elemental Harvester if you really want a reversal.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely. And even then, it's like, you know, if you're practicing, I forgot to say this about Emerald City, but by the way, it's grazable. And, man, there's this other thing about a certain horizontal plane that you could be on when facing Patchouli. It's just really good against Patchouli, but I'll talk about that when trying to beat her. Next spell?
I think we've talked about Satellite Sunflower and Jellyfish Princess. Do we really want to talk about photosynthesis? I mean...
I can, but...
It's like a big...
I don't think we should.
Yeah, it's a magic potion that makes...
main out there loves this spell, and they're gonna be so sad if we don't talk about it.
Yeah, photosynthesis.
I can give like a 15-second rundown. It gives
go, Huz, go.
About 1,500 life and 3 cards if you stand the beam, which it creates that follows you around. You probably shouldn't use this unless you have gotten a good, clean knockdown with a lot of Oki time, or you're going to get punished because it has like a 2-second startup, and you have basically Infinite Spirit while you're in the beam of light. Okay, that's good enough.
Nice.
So conceptually it's good. Okay. Now, Phlogistic Pillar. Combo tool? Is there any other use other than that one specific setup with 6C?
Which one?
Fire
Phlogistic
water
Pillar?
sign, phlogistic pillar.
You can combo it off of J8A. You can combo it off of like 2C.
Interesting.
I don't. This is another one of those weird application spells because in order to get maximum damage or like the most efficient damage out of it, you need to do it at full screen. You need to be as farthest away from the corner as possible because it travels the full distance, and that's when you're gonna get better damage than something like Saint Elmo's Pillar. That's like the only opportunity. Like I know IROC likes to play with this spell. He's been experimenting with it. I think he actually has like some optimal combo setups that you can do just in the middle of the screen. But I just don't see too much use for it, to be honest. Phlogistic Pillar, there's so little application, and I'm never finding the right opportunity to use it, and I'd rather use my meter on something like Satellite Sunflower or Jellyfish Princess instead. Or even save up for that 4-card reversal.
Looks like we can move on then.
Yeah.
Combos off White Moisture combos into it. Oh, by the way, White Moisture and Deluge is legit. If you're running White Moisture, make sure to run Forward.
Oh, okay.
It does a lot of damage. It makes White Moisture a lot more scary, actually.
Okay, let me talk about the spell that could have been. The spell
It better not be Megalopolis.
The spell that could have seen the stars. The one that could have been seen in meta gameplay. How awesome Emerald Megalopolis could have been. So, this spell is really bad. And let me tell you how bad. It's really slow on startup, so it's not a reversal. And it also doesn't hit right next to you. So if you're using this spell, it's gonna have to be in a combo. You're never going to use it as a reversal, or you're gonna use it in a block string. But in a combo, it's not that good because it a lot of Patchouli's combos, they do it involves a lot of bullets, typically done early in the combo. So something mid-screen would have to be done with like a 2C into this spell, maybe a 6C into Emerald's Megalopolis. 6-6B into Emerald Megalopolis, it's good, but and the damage can be good. It's just that you have to use this.
It doesn't look like it reaches over 4K.
In most of her combos, yeah. It's not really like that good a damage, and you can reach some of the combo damage with this spell with something like Saint Elmo's Pillar. But here's some interesting mechanics about Emerald Megalopolis. They act like an object, similar to Tenchi's drills, or her DT2 drill drops. I'm sure you know what those are, the pillars. So they're an object. They can block hits, and if you try to attack them, you're left in hit stun. So that opens up like some counter hit opportunities for Patchouli to like 5C you, and maybe do some kind of setup off of that, or maybe she can combo you from that. It blocks bullets. It blocks every single bullet except for like the Type S bullets that are just infinite bullets or lasers. And that can be really good. Like, let's say that. But the problem with that, though, by the way, is because Emerald Megalopolis, when fully active, when all the walls are up, it doesn't last that long. It lasts maybe 3 to 4 seconds, and then they start going away one after the other. But if it stayed up longer, if the walls were there for just a little bit longer, maybe Patchouli could abuse that a little bit better, and maybe block some bullets, and maybe she wouldn't have to care about getting sniped or deal with, some other neutral problems, or, having to deal with bullets in general. But they go away too quickly, and I feel like that's just...
But alas.
Yeah, it's just, you can't do it. And like I said, it has to be done mid-screen, so things like combos or pressure in the corner are not going to happen. There's one combo string that you can do mid-screen that goes... I think it goes 5A, 2C into Megalopolis, and that will land all 4 of the Megalopolis hits. And each hit does 0.5 orbs of damage. So on the second hit, you've only done 1 orb, but it becomes border escapable after the second hit. So it's not even that good in pressure. So you only get the 1 orb of damage if you use it in mid-screen pressure. It's really unfortunate, and I hate it. Because if it was never border escapable, then you would get the 2 orbs, and then maybe you could combo or pressure string into something like 6C, and then maybe you could guard crush and do something cool after that. But no, It's border escapable. You can't use it. Though I will say, it's good for fancy combos. Maybe you land some kind of counter hit off of some Suwako trying to J8A you, like the Suwako they are. Because on counter hit, this combo, or this spell card, does a lot of damage. Raw Emerald Megalopolis is not damage to laugh at. It's too much cost of a card to really make use of it. And that's what saddens me.
I was gonna say, I think this is, between all her skill and spell cards, this is the worst one, if you ask me.
I would agree, and I hate it. I'm so sad. I'm so sad. I love this spell, but it's so bad.
Alright, let's move on to Royal Flare. Skill that
Royal
matters.
Flare. When your opponent's on low orbs, just use this.
Activate.
Yeah. If you push the button, it fills the entire goddamn screen up with a massive hurt box. If you block it, it does a little over 2 orbs. And some chip damage.
No, it does almost 3, actually.
Yeah, almost 3, but
Mm-hmm.
it's used now in the current, I think in the current popular patchy play as a crush setup. If you get somebody down to a certain number of orbs, you push the button and they take damage. And they either get their orbs crushed or they take even more damage.
Mm-hmm.
It can be used as a hard read. If somebody has low orbs anywhere on the screen, you can push this button and it will work at basically the exact same effectiveness anywhere. So that is the main use of it. You can combo into it. I think even Dial A will combo counter hit 6/6C. But those are it. Is there a better use for Royal Flare than just the push the button at a certain number of orbs?
You can use it for some setups, like mid-screen, if you're right up next to them, basically as close as you can get almost. You can do 5 for 2A, 4B, 2C, Royal Flare, and it does over 5 orbs. And it's actually, the 2C is actually tied into the Royal Flare, so they have to block it.
Interesting.
Mid-screen.
And all these crush setups rely on the implication of they're expecting another melee, so they're going to block. And that is the expectation, and that's what allows all these crush setups to exist.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
One of the things I love about Royal Flare is that just by holding the card, you are conditioning your opponent to play in a very specific way. And by that I mean they're not going to throw out that many bullets. They're watching their spirit usage because they know this card and they know how much it can fuck them up. 3 orbs on block, 2 on graze. You have to be careful when a Patchouli is holding Royal Flare. So as the opponent playing around Royal Flare, they're not going to be using too many bullets. They're mainly going to maybe try to snipe you out of something, and they need to win neutral within 2 orbs. Which is not very easy, by the way. It's really not. It's just really good. But the thing is, for Patchouli, if she's holding on to Royal Flare, it can also be a problem, because it can stagnate her cards. Like, let's take a look at her typical core deck setup. It's going to have a couple flares, it's going to have maybe a sunflower, and then a whole bunch of skills. And so, if you're not spending your meter to level up a skill, well then you're probably going to be holding on to your Royal Flare to prepare that for a good situation. So you're not going to be leveling up your skills, you're just waiting for a flare opportunity, and that can stagnate your cards. Which means you're not going to be drawing anything else, and you are most definitely not spending meter. You have to force Royal Flare opportunities sometimes. And this is why like Patchouli oftentimes plays very slowly and plays a very long neutral. Yosu, no. Leave my co-host alone. But anyway, next spell. Okay, I'll let Huz talk about Philosopher's Stone. Okay.
End of Royal Flare.
Okay, just Sum up Philosopher's Stone if you can.
I'll try and give the
Give it
rundown
another go.
again.
I'm so sorry about that. I don't know what happened, guys.
You just didn't want anyone to know about Philosopher's Stone.
It's the forbidden tech.
The forbidden tech.
No.
Right.
Well, people do assume it did nothing, even when it's 70% of their life and stuff like that. So they just pretend it doesn't exist.
So basically, Philosopher's Stone, Patchouli generates 5 crystals around her. Each corresponds to an element that launches extra bullets when she uses a bullet with that element. The last 20 seconds, each stone takes 3 seconds to regenerate.
Yeah, and the bullets do about 700 chip damage amongst them for each skill, and about 1 orb in damage. So if somebody's blocking this, they're just probably gonna die if they keep blocking. So it's fine if they're blocking. You want to force them to block, essentially, or hit them. And the crystals, when they respawn, if you're in the middle of a skill animation, they'll shoot immediately. Like White Moistures is 90 seconds or something of animation. So if it's at the end of that, then it'll actually be really plus because the bolts shoot out at the end. And, well, I guess that's mostly the gist of it.
Alright, do either of you want to talk about Royal Diamond Ring?
There's nothing to say about Royal Diamond Ring.
Nothing.
No, there's really not. It's slow on startup. You got maybe 2 combo opportunities. I guess you can use it in block strings, but or no, not in block strings, but it can be good to add to your block strings. Other than that, no, there's no.
It's alright. It's pretty good against Oku because of her movement.
It's very pretty.
It is very pretty, and I sometimes use it, but it's not better than Flare in any way, shape, or form. Okay, what's next?
Last thing on the list is going to be how you handle your matchups. Like, what's the best and worst? Does she change her playstyle at all? I don't imagine she would.
So, like, best and worst matchups, then?
Yes. Like, top 2 best matchups and 2 worst matchups, I'd say.
I'd say the worst is Iku and Sakuya, but I'm sure there's some variation depending on how you play.
I would say Sakuya and Yukari are the worst matchups. Her best matchups are maybe Suwako and Itsuho. Just because of how slow they are.
Yeah, their movement.
I don't agree with that second one, but it's not, because if you play it right, it's not that bad. It's pretty decent.
I mean, if you can graze and stuff, I mean, it just requires.
I have trouble with that one. Sorry, I just.
Okay. I mean, and given my matchup experience when it comes to Iku, I also find that she has just as much trouble dealing with you as you do with her as a Patchouli player.
Yeah, the matchup's kind of weird.
Very.
The reason I'd say that she's favored is just because she generally has way better conversions off of straight hits.
But like the reason I say like she's good against Suwako, or yes, we know it's the bane of our existence. We hate fighting Iku, we hate J2A, but then again, everybody hates J2A. It's not like Patchouli is exclusive to the ceiling.
It is absolutely not character-specific hatred.
Yes. So, but anyway, I think Patchouli's really good against Suwako because she kind of just disables what Suwako can do in neutral, in the ceiling, thanks to things like Dew Spear, D22, 5C, J5C. Like, Suwako has to play around every single one of these bullets. And it's frustrating for her because her bullets aren't very dense. And she can't really fight this too well. Like, if you're on the same plane, or a horizontal plane of Suwako, then all you have to do is just time your 6C. Because 6C goes through every single one of Suwako's bullets, except for maybe the Iron Ring, which needs to be charged. I know we lost Fran for now because he's on Online Breakdown. Online Breakdown's happening, guys. Just go check
that tournament started, yeah.
Yeah. The fact that you're listening to me, I thank you for that, because this is important to me to talk about. So, the other matchup I found to be kind of easy for Patchouli, probably Itsuho. I've gotten used to this matchup quite a bit, but it requires a certain skill. It requires Summer
I
Flame.
won't run it. I'm sorry.
Well, if you use Summer Flame versus Itsuho, she doesn't have too many options against it.
Yeah,
she's so
I know.
big, she's
I
kind
know I
of fat,
should.
you know? Well, I mean, not like literally fat, but I mean like her hitbox. God, I'm gonna get a call from Zatan. But anyway, she's pretty big. You can land this against her in block strings very easily. It's strong against her. It deletes a lot of her stuff except for Laser. Laser is going to go through that Summer Flame, but otherwise, if you're in a position where you can land this on Itsuho without that, it just makes the matchup a whole lot easier. Let me think. So why is Yukari a bad matchup? Here, hold on. Let me get you an image of this dastardly character.
Jump 2C, jump 5C, and pinwheel. Kill me now.
Yeah, I would imagine anybody with grazing melee moves could be a potential problem for Patchouli.
Okay, so concerning Yukari, and she's not really that high tier of a character, right? But she has a lot of specific tools to her that make her just a little bit stronger as a character choice against Patchouli. One of the reasons being that 6-6C does graze. The fact that 6-6C acts like Iku's J2A in the way it's a disjointed hurt box. So what that means is she can use the 6-6C to blow through anything like maybe a 5C, maybe throughout 4B, or you're trying to 6C her like with the water bullet. She can low profile that and or just graze it with 6-6C, and this just shuts down Patchouli. So if you're at like a mid-range distance, mid-screen distance from Yukari, you're actually in a lot of danger, and you need to be very careful about what button you press, because every one of the startups of Patchouli's buttons at this range is just not fast enough to hit Yukari, and it's not going to stop her from using 6-6C. So yeah, it might trade, but your bullet didn't really cause that much of a knockdown. Like she's gonna recover from it. You were counter hit, you're gonna get comboed or something. It's very bad. And Yukari almost always wins neutral every single time from that counter hit. So that's just one of the tools that Patchouli has to play around when it comes to fighting Yukari, and it's bad because it disables some of her options. And you can't just like high jump away. Like Yukari gets mid-screen, one of your thoughts is to just high jump away really quickly, because you don't want to be at that kind of distance when it comes to Yukari. She will kick you so hard. It hurts. It sucks. But she's good. She's good in this matchup. The other thing is that her bullets, everybody loves Yukari's C bullets. You know, the 5C is the bone of her sword or something like that, right? They're extremely dense, and they go through almost every single one of Patchouli's bullets. And I mean every single one of them. You might be able to trade with her with a J6C from time to time, or maybe just outright beat her with J6C. But given the wide range of this bullet in general, it's going to go through your stuff and it's going to hit you. So you have to play around it, or you have to graze it, or because you're not going to outdence it. The only thing you're going to outdence it with is Summer Flame. You can't outdence it with something like Sawblade. Sawblade will get deleted. It's not very good. Flamethrower is an optional choice that you could use against Yukari, but the problem with that is that it doesn't matter versus Yukari because she has Pinwheel. Pinwheel is another one of the options. Pinwheel is like one of the reasons why Summer Flame isn't very good against Yukari, because if you use it in the middle of the air and you do like 2-3-6C, and you know that's like one of your typical neutral setups where you're trying to force your opponent to block something like Summer Flame C, but Yukari can just go under that, activate her pinwheel, and you get fucked. It's terrible. But like, really, this is a 7-3 matchup or something based off of what you have to deal with.
Not that bad. Come on.
It's terrible. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. I hate this character. It's why I suffer.
7-3 because of pinwheel.
If you want my honest opinion, I think if you practiced enough and got used to everything, and facts to be using the fact that Yukari is a lot easier to do pressure stuff on, then it would probably be like Eat. But you'd have to put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know I personally need a lot. I'm not the best player, guys. I said this at the beginning of the stream. I'd actually recommend watching players like Hibimaru, Sardaukar, or Waterdew, if you know of them. They're really good Patchouli players. But that's just my opinion on Yukari. So it just sucks because you have to play around her 6/6C, disable some of your options. You can't just... I know what you're going to say about Sardaukar. He's memey, but he's good. And he's good for reasons you'll probably never understand.
Have you shown the Hyper Sardi video yet?
Oh my god, please put that up there.
Alright,
Just show your own stream while you're on your stream.
I wonder if I can Google that and find it. No.
Oh, I have it right here.
Okay, I'll put that up. The other matchup I find to be really extremely difficult for Patchouli would be Sakuya, and I think I'll let Huz start with this one.
Well, for starters, you're basically not advantaged to neutral in any way anymore because she can just throw bouncing knives and let's see what options are there here. Block? It's not that straightforward, but that's basically how I feel.
Okay.
Basically, Saki's balls all just match up pretty well. Like,
Yeah, Sakuya's J5C is extremely dense. It'll tear through just about
if you
anything but flamethrower.
Summer Red will beat anything, but you can't really use that at an angle that matters most of the time.
Yeah.
You can't shoot it. You can only shoot it straight on the ground.
Is it strictly because of the neutral that Sakuya is a bad matchup?
Doesn't help that getting all your orbs crushed is very devastating for Patchy. Yeah. Set plays especially, and she doesn't have like a particularly good tech to escape it either because it's pretty slow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's basically just the neutral. It just lines up where. Oh yeah, there's also Saki's 623, which just beats everything besides blocking essentially that he has in the air.
Grazes right through, yeah.
So it's just really hard to play neutral in this matchup. You gotta recognize a lot of situations where you just have to block.
Mm-hmm.
Not, the norm essentially.
Things like J5C, J6C, the density, the speed of them, it's really rough.
Mm-hmm.
Chula can't just do her typical setups with these bullets, so she has to be a little bit careful. I feel like one of the best options she has when fighting Sakuya is she has to go for that J6C snipe. And it's going to be a lot, like the matchup is a lot of damage trading, I'm not going to lie. Because each character, each player is trying to do the same thing to the other, and just shut each other down.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and there's one more thing. God, what was it? No, I remember. I'll mention it, but.
I find that Cerno is a very tough matchup for Patchouli, but I also recognize that it was the same way for Cerno in return. Like, they're chasing each other down. Nobody has consistent Okizeme. It's cat and mouse, typical cat and mouse style.
I mean, Patchouli's neutral has to just blow Cherno out of the water, no?
Not entirely. Not entirely, and I
5C
say that because of like
5C.
6C. Wait, you sub Cerno, that's right. What do you think about the matchup, Huz?
I honestly haven't played enough of it as either person, really.
Any theory behind it?
As either character. I don't have, for some reason, I just never really fight, fighters, Patchouli, and so, don't know what's up with that, it's just coincidence, I guess.
Gotcha.
Low matchup experience here. But from what I've seen, that hard for the most part. She has very small limbs, so she kind of has to be a bit more careful and precise to hit you.
Alright, so that covers best and worst. Sakuya. You think Sakuya is her absolute worst matchup?
Yeah.
That trophy goes to Yukari for me. Yes, I'm looking at you, PC Volt. I will fucking slaughter you. Just watch.
I mean, Yukari's sea bullets are just as irritating.
Yeah. They are.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I mean, I think we've kind of covered, like, how you're supposed to play against Patchouli, unless you want to add something.
Oh, so things,
How to counter her.
So how to play around Patchouli. How to beat Patchouli. This is... I'm scratching my head right now just trying to think about it because... like, look at this from my perspective and play
Is there some technique that lets you, like, fly through bullets?
Okay, first you can counterpick.
Here we go.
That's an option.
Alright, so the first option is to not pick your main character. You have to pick Sakuya or Yukari. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, so you're gonna need a lot of Soku experience to kind of fight Patchouli because you need to learn how to graze, right? You need to like get used to what Patchouli does. She, like I said, she doesn't play like your typical fighter. She's not fishing for that J5A. She's not fishing for that J6A. She is trying to set you up to walk into her bullets. Now, there's a number of ways that she can do this, and it kind of requires, like, your cooperation in a way in order for all of this to happen. In order for Patchouli to play properly and, like, win at all, it requires your cooperation to some extent. So, you need to respect, like, her bullets, you need to not graze so much, and you need to, like, run into her melee, like... But you need to also notice these patterns with Patchouli. So when you're fighting her, you need to see like just how long maybe you should be grazing for. If she did a B bullet, maybe a 4B, a J4B. Just think about her next options. She still has J5C. She still has a skill cancel after that 5C. And if it's like mid screen or like on the ground and she's running White Moisture, these are things to think about. So you're not going to want to border escape her bullets right away if she's running White Moisture. In fact, if you just block the White Moisture, you'll be safe from any of her pressure techniques or any of her gimmicks. I mean, you could border escape the White Moisture, but if you're in the corner and they have Elemental Harvester, maybe you want to think about that too. But if you're like trying to if you want to be a D6 hero, this is gonna come down to how well you understand Patchouli's gameplay and how well you understand the opponent as a player, because they can do a whole lot of things when it comes to being in the air. They could do like a 6C, like a J6C and J44 cancel into like a J6A to kind of bait your movement. So that's one of the things that she can do, is like aerial cancels into J6A or J5A in some cases, because she has to mix up her options as well. She's not always going to do the 4B or the J4B, the J5C cancel, the skill cancel. And even if she does that though, this is all stuff that you can raise. Her only mix-up option is going to be the J44 and the J6A. Now, when it comes to fighting Patchouli on the ground, there's a difference. Let me pull you up an image really quick, and I have to thank Advice Owl for this image. But, it's like the Dominion of Sakuya and Aya Republic. It's the dumbest stuff ever, but I need to find it. It basically explains this horizontal plane which Patchouli can't cover, and this is thanks to like her 4A and her like 5A and sometimes her 6A hitbox. What you do basically is you need to. I need someone to like dash at me to like explain this. I don't have an image for this, it's a very specific altitude you need to play at when it comes to Patchouli, because it's this area that she can't cover. 4A doesn't hit there, 5C can be grazed, Emerald City is a bullet, so you can just graze that too. White Moisture doesn't go high enough, and 6A is too slow of a startup. And this altitude is like right above Patchouli. You know, let me just pull up Soku.
So it's a little bit of a sweet spot.
Yes, and this is one of those things that you could abuse against Patchouli when you're playing against her. I've noticed that some of our players have actually gotten used to this. They've recognized it. Popo is one of them. He recognizes this area. Patchy EOH, IROC, Blaze Dragon, they all know of this altitude above Patchouli. Let me see if I can get a screenshot right here. This. Okay, so right above this 4A hitbox, and this is a very bad 4A, by the way, it doesn't hit that high. The reason I put so much emphasis on dashing and being above Patchouli in this scenario is because there's not many options she has. She doesn't have anti-airs. So if you just graze her stuff, then you win neutral just like that, and she's already spent a whole bunch of spirit. Now, some of her follow-up options off of like a 5C is maybe her Spring Wind. Maybe she can push you back if you're mid-screen. But other than that, there's really not too much. And so from that, maybe she did like a... Okay, let's say she did a 5C, right? She did a 5C. And right here, she has the option to cancel out into like a skill, or maybe she wants to just high jump after this. Maybe she doesn't want to do a skill. She's like afraid or something, right? So maybe she'll try to just high jump out of there. And this is kind of the high jump read you need to recognize. How much does the player like to high jump cancel? How much does his character like to cancel right into skills? How aggressive are they? Are they going to high jump backwards? Are they going to high jump forward? These are all sorts of things that you need to consider when fighting the Patchouli. It's not so much just about the character, because Patchouli has, you know, defensive options and choices just like any other character. But that is one of the definitive tools that you can use against Patchouli. And once again, I stress that altitude, that one altitude above Patchouli. Let's see if I can get it right here. Kind of like right here, maybe a little bit lower. So, okay, this is definitely it. This definitely has to be it. So like this then. Okay, so I talked about like different angles of approaching Patchouli, but I didn't talk about exactly playing around her bullet setups. Now, she can definitely set you up with things like, you know, 5C, D421 setups in neutral. Maybe you were in the middle of air and then you got caught by... Ooh, hold on. Yeah, I can show this. I can show this one. So, like, maybe the Patchouli did this, and you're in the middle of air, and you're blocking this. You want to, like, border escape forward this, or border escape backwards, or just block it completely. She doesn't have too much of a follow-up after this. It's just J8A. But one thing to mention is that, like, you know, Patchouli does have to do these setups in order to, like, win neutral sometimes. So you'll notice that she's spamming a whole lot of bullets, and she does this to win her neutral, to counter-hit you, to get some sort of hit confirm off of you, just so she can combo you, right? Now, if she is aggressive in that sense, what you can start doing, maybe, is you can play out your neutral, maybe sit back a little bit, see what Patchouli does, and she's spending a lot of spirit, just throwing out a whole bunch of bullshit that you don't need to play around. Well, think about what she's doing for a second. She's spending a lot of spirit just to do all of this. So when she's at, like, maybe 2 orbs left, this is where you can start to be aggressive towards Patchouli. And the reason being is because this also limits her options on what else she can do to stop you from attacking or approaching her. So she has to choose her next 2 orbs wisely. And that's, this is a situation I used to come across a whole lot because I wasn't used to spirit management. And when you're fighting Patchouli in neutral, this is it's just one of the things you can make use of to try and do to win your neutral versus Patchouli, because Patchouli's neutral is godlike. It's extremely powerful, and her bullets are immensely strong. And they cover so much area, too. But, again, she's spending that spirit to try and win neutral. And she's going to spend a whole hell of a lot of it, too. Now, it just depends on how aggressive they are as a Patchouli player and how much they like to use bullets. But just keep in mind with spirit management. And on top of that, you're going to have to look at their cards. You're going to have to look at what weather it is. But like her cards on top of her spirit. These are just things to keep in mind. So you can start baiting things like a like 5C. Like, okay, let's say she's at 2 orbs now, and you have the option to be aggressive on her. She has a couple defensive options she can make use of. She can do a J6A, maybe she can 6C you trying to snipe her with a bullet, or maybe she can just throw out another 5C if you're air grazing towards her. But you can bait all of this. Really, you can. You can just like dash around in place even more. You can like maybe do some of this and just inch your way towards her. Just be at that good mid-range distance, and this will cause Patchouli to freak out. At least that's how I feel, because I notice that's how a lot of Patchoulis react, and that's where you're gonna find openings against Patchouli.
It's making me think you can't autopilot the neutral.
With Patchouli? No.
Like against Patchouli.
Oh.
No, probably not.
No, I would say no, because Patchouli's neutral is stronger than yours. Straight up, it is. Like, there's so... her neutral is just so much better than most characters.
You play Saki.
Yeah. I mean, Saku, yeah. Okay, most characters. It's better than most characters.
Yeah.
There. I think that really covers it for what to watch out for when it comes to playing against Patchouli. Like, there's some other tidbits and specifics I could touch base on, like when it comes to 66B or 2C. Like, a lot of her stuff, if you are in a block string against Patchouli, here, let me get the opponent mid-screen for you. Okay, so let's say you're blocking this. 5AA, 2C. This 2C can be border escaped on the first hit. And if you border escape forward, you can actually punish this. This is completely punishable. This is like one of the few tricks that, you know, Patchouli has no option against. Maybe she can do like a 6-2-3 follow-up to maybe stop you from like pressuring, or I'm sorry, countering her 2C usage. But yeah, definitely you want to border escape forward the 2C because you can punish that. Another option is border escape forward the 6-6B. This is a bullet. You want to border escape forward this. You can punish that. Unless they're running White Moisture again. Remember, just keep that in mind. And then if they have Elemental Harvester, it's like all these things come into play. It gets really fucking annoying. What's another good one? You can just border escape most J2A, by the way. Unless it's like really good timed. Maybe they can do like a J5 or a 5.
Her J2A does like reset her downward momentum, so she can't catch you out of anything if you're gonna beat E, really.
Yeah, not most of the time. Like, this is the kind of J2A right here, you just want to border escape because I'm going to cancel into a bullet. So kind of like right here. That's a good that's good J2A. But there's not much I can actually do after that. Like, in some cases, D236 is tight in this block string, and you could reset into a J5A pressure string. But that's what you want to avoid, so you want to border escape the J2A. Don't be quick to border escape off the J5A. Just because the J5A and the J6A, that's really strong, and if you try to border escape and you get caught by a J6A, that's gonna lose you neutral. You're gonna get reset. Patchouli's gonna get good Okizeme off of that one. Not too much else I think I can say. There's like specific
pretty good job.
Sorry, go ahead.
I said you did a pretty good job with me.
I know there's really a whole lot to explain, and I'm not sure I really captured everything precisely, or maybe you guys didn't hear exactly what you wanted to hear.
Kind of complicated.
Yeah. I think that that is actually everything I wanted to explain about beating Patchouli. You need to learn to graze more.
Just learn to graze.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like D6ing Patchouli. Like if you watch Genki's recent gameplay versus Patchouli, I think he actually picked up a little bit on what he's supposed to do in this matchup. And it's not just D6. It's just dashing in place and kind of waiting for opportunity. Maybe you know, looking for some snipe opportunities depending on what your character can do. So if your character has like fast bullets, maybe you can try using those a little bit. And you gotta watch your spacing too. Like you don't want to be, you don't always want to be on the ground versus Patchouli. You know, you definitely want to graze her stuff in midair because she doesn't have a lot of good aerial options. And like I said, one of her main options is J8A. Just a whole bunch of stuff. And if you have questions for me, like just ask me in the Patchy server. I'll definitely answer all of them for you, because I know a lot about the character. I know a lot about the gameplay.
And you have absolutely demonstrated that knowledge here today.
I hope so.
Fran, are you here?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, he's back!
Yep, I just got knocked out of online breakdown, so we're good to go.
What happened?
It's not my fault I went against IROC round 2.
Oh gosh.
Jeez. Well, we wrapped up Patchouli in your absence. So
Yes,
we can move on to the shilling and then close this out here.
Ah, yes, the shilling.
Here we go.
Now, it's a pretty good segue. We have the online breakdown tournament happening right now. There's a Soku side tournament. They are currently in top 4, I believe. They're close to top 8 right now.
You're gonna
So
see
you can-
some really strong players like IROC, Draconius,
Yeah, we're
Genki.
most of the strong players, especially in the winners bracket. Those are going to be some fun games. They're going to be pretty damn cool to see if you wanted to do that. And one last thing to show, I believe. We only had 2 things on the menu for today. There is this YouTube channel, I believe, if you've noticed it in the announcements a while ago, called Spellbreak. And it is a channel run by myself, Elos, and Yosupal. And what the purpose of the channel is to basically compile replays of high-level players in specific matchups, so you will get a decent knowledge of the character. It's something sort of like, I don't know, Yaffe has a pretty decently big channel back when he was uploading, but it's more coordinated than that. It's not just random gameplay. While I'm sure the gameplay there is good, you can just look into a character and
Subjective.
go to the YouTube channel.
See Siggets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The purpose of each video is to teach you at least something you can learn, something that will benefit you.
Specifically teaching you how to play certain matchups and how to play. The game should be able to teach you how you should play as the character and how you should play against the character, because the team here, we try to pick replays that are at the very least even, and it doesn't really matter who wins as long as the pros and the cons of the characters are being shown. The videos are usually a little over 10 minutes long because they're YouTube videos, and of course they are. There's 3 replays per video with 3 different matchups. So if you wanted to go check that out, it is, in my opinion, a pretty painless way to learn matchups. It's just watching other people that are high level play them. You can pick up on certain things, and the more you learn about them, the more things you'll pick up from high level gameplay. Like sometimes if you're not that good and you see 2 people just dash up and down, oh, what the hell was that for? But in reality, they're trying to space themselves right. One person dashes up, and then that means that eventually the other person is going to drop down first. So then you want to wait for the first person, and it's all these mind games and things going on, and it's kind of a gold mine watching high level replays. Honestly, most of the players there are players just from the server. There are some uncredited Japanese replays, and those are all pretty high level, and you can actually see how differently they play. They would tend to respect a lot more. But it's a pretty cool channel, and I would recommend that you go check it out, and definitely not because I make
smash the like button.
Smash that like button.
Subscribe, please, or even fuck you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys recognize that one.
We also have a Twitter account that's getting started up. If you're interested
Yes, there's a Twitter account. Elos is going to be running that one because he, according to him, he spends a very large portion of time on Twitter.
Yeah. All right.
Houston.
Let's calm down.
Let's see.
So yeah, that's about all the words we had for shilling. Zero, Huz, did you want to say anything else before we cut this?
Yeah, actually I do. I have one more thing to say.
Alright.
It's about Megalop.
Is it a block? Is it a block streak?
About that 1/4 card, let me tell you a good streak. No. I actually have some Hebe Moto notes to share with you, and it's something that he wanted me to talk to you guys, everybody else, and those who are watching. Just some of the more important things that he felt were important to say about Patchouli. One of the questions that was asked to him once was, why do you run the 2-card gear in the Deluge only? And it's because those cards are very useful and they're low cost. Both cards can easily guard crush on the corners, and they're low cost. So it's because they're low cost and they have very good crush opportunities with them. He doesn't like the 5-cost cards much, as it causes sometimes you won't be able to use the 5 cards, and it's like I said earlier, causes your cards to stagnate a little bit. It's not always like a usable card. One thing he wanted to mention about learning Patchouli was like, okay, in his words, he says he thinks the easiest thing is to be able to practice alone. So that's combos, that's like practicing things like J5C, J4B land cancels, practicing your 6C into J6C loops, or even 6C into J6C into a backdash cancel into another J6C. That's a full combo, by the way. That's actually, like, you can combo this, you can loop this thing just like Reimu combos. Says next, so he says to practice your 6-6B combos because they're very good, and you're gonna run into a lot of 6-6B situations. His next thing says is it's good to take practice with distance as well, because of this character. This character is good at shooting at long to middle distances. The ability to graze without looking at your character is effective, he says. Instead, you can check your opponent's character, weather cards, and orbs. And I kind of get what he's saying here. He's basically saying that because Patchouli kind of just floats back and she kind of just has her own thing going on, and you can like autopilot some of this, so it allows you to like watch the weather, watch the opponent's cards, watch what the opponent is doing. So it's really not that hard to pay attention when it comes to playing Patchouli.
You can basically autopilot because she's so bullet based, depending on the spacing, right? Yes. So if you're far enough away, you know that you can safely use certain skills, and then you can just sort of take your mind off it. If they come closer, then you definitely do worry about that. But there are certain flowcharts in neutral which not many characters have. They could really long flowcharts.
Don't want to autopilot too hard, or
Don't want to autopilot too hard, but there are certain things where this is a very optimal string of moves to use at this certain spacing. I linked a combo video for the Patchouli combos. I believe it's a Hibimato. I think it might be. I don't know what the title says because it's in Japanese, but they are the optimal Patchouli combos, and the loops that you were talking about.
Yeah, Patchouli has some of the best mid-screen combos, by the way, but they're the hardest to do in the game. Really, I think they are.
Yeah, they really are. I've tried some of them. A lot of them are character specific. You have to cancel the second portion of your dial at very specific parts because it hits 3 times. Mm-hmm. And you have to space it right. It's very specific.
Okay, so
the combo man says they're hard.
Beyond my pay grade.
They're ridiculous. They're almost all frame perfect combos, save for a couple characters. Going back to the notes, he says, other than that, it is important to get out well when you are driven to the edge. So here, I think he's saying that you need to practice getting out of the corner. Like, you need to practice dealing with pressure and exploring some of Patchouli's options. He says, that is the best if you can use coin well. I can't do it well, so I rely on Emerald City. Which, you can kind of see in his gameplay. He uses a lot of Emerald City, and people lose
Can't
to it
defend, so just mash the DP technique.
Yeah, I think it was Hibimato who once said that if you're not good with defense, then you should use Emerald City. But if you want a stronger neutral, then you should use Dew Spears. So really, I think the Patchouli player is defined by their usage, or their 4-2-1 of choice. So it's either Emerald City or Dew Spears. It's like one or the other. Finally, he says, what I care most about is to use more cards. Patchouli has strong skills, so I think it is not good to play for a long time while holding 5 cards. So he obviously values card and meter usage, which is probably some of the reasoning behind why he doesn't run things like Royal Flare or Philosopher's Stone or Silent Celine, even though it's a really good and strong reversal. But it just takes a lot of practice, and remember, spell cards are just kind of flavor picks to begin with. Alright, that's everything I wanted to say.
Oh, I had one thing more to add, because I hear people say incorrect information about it all the time. It's how Patchy's faster spirit regen works.
Oh, the spirit regen. Go ahead.
Basically, it's not actually faster technically, it's just lowers the time that she has to wait before spirit starts coming back. So on skills, it's instead of 2 seconds, it goes in, hers are 1 before she can regenerate spirit again. So it's half on skills, that's why she can spam so many. And on C bullets, it's down from, I think, 1 to 0.1 for normal characters and 0.75 seconds for her. And on B bullets, it's 0.75 seconds for normal characters, and I think 0.63 for her. So it's mostly noticeable on skills, where it's half the time. Just a PSA on how that works.
Oh, that reminds me. Mina, if you're listening, 5C into 236 isn't tight. In fact, 5C into a whole lot of things isn't tight. It's not.
5C is only tight into Deluge and White Moisture, which you wouldn't want to do the second one.
Yeah. In fact, 6C isn't tight. 6C isn't tight into many things. So 6C is typically at the end of your block string, as well as 5C. Unless you're using, Emerald City. So if you have Emerald City, I guess you can do 4B, 5C Emerald City, and that's a tight string, but you're not really going to get a good crush on that because the recovery time on Emerald City is too high, and you're not going to be able to combo off of it. That's another one of those interesting strings, by the way, but I'm rambling now.
Yeah, it's about time we wrap this up. We shot for 2 hours and we hit 3 hours.
Damn it. I tried.
But it was all very immersive information. Personally, I learned a lot about Patchy.
That's good.
Thank you, Zero, for returning and streaming and being a guest on the podcast.
No problem.
Just holding the whole damn thing together.
Thank you, Huz, for joining us and offering what you knew about the character. Fran, is there anything we need to say?
Take care. Have a good one.
God.
Got you. I think I've destroyed everybody. Alright. See you later, guys.